Certainly, no, it can't be 10, but I can see one, maybe two. And that was after about 5 minutes looking at the spreadsheet, identifying the small number of students in so many classes. So much so that the average class size at Campbell High School is 16.3 students. And a targeted average is supposed to be 23, according to the policy of the school board. Subsequent to that, in addition to speaking to that point here, I spoke to the school board a number of times and raised the same issue. And again, if you remember, I made similar comments at the joint budget committee meetings, what was it, a month or so ago, thereabouts? And made a comment that I believe that the teachers are not teaching to the intent of the contract. And there was a comment made that, yes, they were, and debate was then stifled by Mr. Cutter. Subsequent to that, I received an email from Mr. Cutter, which I appreciated, and identified how many minutes that teachers at LMS and CHS provide in teaching and supervisory capacity. And following that, I put together a memo which I sent to them on, them being the school board, on November 28th, and I copied the budget committee. And I'm not going to ask to be allowed to read that all into the minutes, but I would ask that that you would include it as a link in the meeting minutes in deference to reading it in.
I'll make a note to have Mr. Sullivan do that.
Okay, appreciate that. And I'm not even going to get into the particulars of what's in my memo. The reason being is as you know, in fact, Mr. Taylor, you made mention of comments, or public comment at the school department being very difficult to have people come because the school board doesn't engage in any conversation. And if you watch the conversation of 2 meetings ago, you'll see that that isn't the case. I started to bring up some things and conversation was shut off. I was then talked to and wasn't allowed to continue with any discussion. So the point of that is I looked to this committee on behalf of the taxpayers to take action, at least give strong consideration to some of the things I've suggested. The reason being is the difficulty is that taxes continue to skyrocket in this town. And just from the last couple of paragraphs of the memo that I'm suggesting, I'll just read this, as I did last night at the school department. The reason this issue is so critical, and this is the staffing that I'm talking about, to understand that the overstaffing situation is a major contributor to the out-of-control increase in the school budget. Based on the analysis of the tax rate from just 2021 to this tax bill of December 2025, the school budget portion of the tax rate has increased a total of 30.48% and an average increase per year of 7.63. Due to the town tax cap, the town portion has only increased a total of 9.97%, and the average increase per year is 2.49%. In short, the increase in the school budgets cannot continue at this rate unless the school board and the budget committee undertake to make serious reductions, such as just suggested in this memo. A school budget cap is not far away. Obviously, well, I don't do Facebook or any of the other things that Bill Belichick doesn't do, so I don't know what's going around town, but I have, just heard reference that there's much to say about the taxes that just landed on everybody's door. In fact, I'm sending a check out tomorrow to pay mine. And this rate cannot continue. As you know, the current school budget is 3% or thereabouts proposed increase from what it was. The warrant article that has the school LEA contract in it, according to the Warren article that was in the minutes last night, the full-year increase for that contract is going to be just shy of $500,000 a year. That's going to put us 5 or 6% before we even talk about Warren articles. In addition, the Capital Improvement Committee that met on the 18th and finalized the CIP is proposing over the next 6 years, $22 million be spent. It's roughly $4 million a year. That's $2 on the tax rate. And our tax rate now is only 20 or 70 or something like that? So that's, on a $600,000 house, it's going to be $1,200 just in the capital improvement. The point being is this committee is responsible to represent all interest, including the taxpayers. And I'll finish by asking the question, I still have yet to figure out where the school budget came in at $1.4 million short, or underspent, I guess is the correct term, last year. If that's being the case, in fact, quite truthfully, they didn't even know it was that strong until nearly after the fact. It suggests to me that this year's budget, the starting point for this year's budget, should be $1.4 million less than it was last year. Does that not make sense? But that's not where we're starting. We're proposing to be $400,000 over what they wanted last year. So that's roughly $2 million higher than you take out the $1.4 million. And that's before making any reductions that I suggested in here. The point being is this committee needs to ask questions that are tough, rather than simply, do we need new uniforms this year or next? You really raked the town over the coals. And you asked really difficult questions. It dug down into the weeds. Well, I haven't seen any of that as far as the school department goes. And the questions I'm asking require a lot of in-depth discussion, thought, and process. And if this committee won't do it, then the taxpayers have no recourse. You are the last, essentially, line for the taxpayers. I really ask you to put the same sort of scrutiny into this school budget review as you did with the town. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the town has a tax cap. The school doesn't. So I want to ask you, I'll close with a question. What do you consider, and I'd like to have each one of you answer the question, what do you consider an appropriate...
We're not going to engage in dialogue, though, so you can go ahead and finish.
Okay, but I'll ask you the question, and it won't be dialogue, but I'd like, on behalf of the taxpayers, for each one of you to answer this question. What do you consider is an appropriate percentage increase in the school budget this coming year? What do you think is a reasonable target? The town has 4%. Is that reasonable? Would a 10% budget increase be okay? 8, 10? Pick a number. But there's got to be some perception of what's appropriate. And I'm going to ask you to begin by going back to identifying where the $1.4 million was and taking that out of the budget and start there as your point of this year's budget buildup, not the other way around. So I ask you to please answer the question I asked you, and I appreciate the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Oblanis. Any other public input this evening? Before we jump into school voting tonight, I know we have a high-level summary that either Mr. Cutter or Superintendent or BA can speak to. I do want to make sure when we do that, we do address a couple of points that Mr. Oblinus made
I would be delighted to.
around the contract and the percentage increase, because I made notes of those, so we'll do that during that time. All right, next on the agenda is correspondence. Give me just a second to navigate there. Thank you to Mr. Taylor for pulling that together today. Bear with me for just a minute, because it's been a bit since we have met. Correspondence. On November 13th, Julie Darling sent the revised school budget. On November 13th, Kim Kleiner sent the November 10th Board of Selectmen review. On November 13th, Julie Darling sent a spreadsheet detailing the changes from last year to this year's budget and tax impact. And then also on November 13th, Ron Oblinus sent a follow-up to the clock schedule request. On November 14th, Eric Olson sent an email with thoughts on health insurance and class sizes. On November 20th, Chair Sun sent the school BA report and school board updates from Mr. Cutter. On November 21st, Heather Schneemann sent the 11/21 budget report. On November 25th, Kim Kleiner sent an update from the November 24th Board of Selectmen meeting. On November 28th, Ron Oblinus sent a follow-up to his email about teaching to the contract. On November 30th, Chair Sun forwarded the town draft warrant articles. On December 1st, Matthew Sullivan sent the meeting minutes from the November 13th meeting. Also on December 1st, Chair Sun sent the agenda for the December 4th meeting. And also on December 1st, Kim Kleiner sent the town December newsletter. There were a couple of additional correspondence that were sent today after Mr. Taylor put these together. Earlier today, I shared with the Budget Committee the spreadsheet from the police chief in regards to the EV cruiser cost comparisons that was shared with the Budget Committee. School update was also shared in regards to draft warrant articles, as well as updates on reserve accounts and a list of the current questions. And then finally, right before the meeting started this evening, I also shared the signed teacher contract that is a part of those proposed warrant articles. So that's all of our correspondence since our last meeting. Next, we have review and acceptance of minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from November 13th?
Motion made.
A motion by Mr. Burke. Do I have a second?
Sure.
Second by Ms. Douglas. Any discussion?
Is this sure a second?
Yes, I will second it. Yes,
Counted it as a second.
I hereby second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote. Mr. Olson?
Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that yes or no?
Sorry. Mr. Cutter?
Yes.
Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. LaPlante?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0-0. I should also mention, my apologies for not mentioning this when we started. Mr. Barca had some unexpected work travel and was unable to join us this evening. All right. Before we get into the school stuff, I want to give Mr. Brunel just a couple of minutes for town updates.
Yeah, just a couple brief ones. 2025 budget outlook, just for anybody following along with budget reports. There are 27 days left. We do expect to finish close to less than 50,000 in the budget. And that is assuming no more storms, no more salting, no more things. So there's a lot of unexpected things that could potentially happen, but it's gonna be a close finish. As you probably heard in the communications, draft warrants were sent. You have those. The board is planning on prioritizing voting them all on Monday, the 8th. So by the time our next meeting is, should be all approved by the board. If you haven't heard already, our building inspector gave his notice. He's leaving to take another job in the private sector. We already posted the position and we're looking for a qualified candidate. And then I think the final one was the police chief did forward a EV cruiser cost
Yes.
comparison,
access
just
Yes.
for reference, so.
I had to request access. I don't know if it's actually accessible.
Oh, you didn't have
Oh,
access to
okay,
it?
I'll have to, I don't even think I have access to it. I mean, I have access.
I
to it.
tried. I'm just saying, I tried. I couldn't.
So if anybody's having I'll look at it right now.
Let me see if I
fix
can
that.
share it.
And that is it, I think. There has been no questions that have been sent to the board, so, or us, so, we're here waiting.
Search for the email from Julie.
I suck at Google.
Any questions for Mr. Brunel this evening? Okay. Seeing none, you got it.
I think so, maybe.
I'm gonna, I should have the ability to share this EV with everybody.
All right,
Give me just
awesome.
1 second.
I managed to leave my binder at home sometimes.
And you all should have access to that now.
Actually, yes, I do have a question for Mr. Brunel, if I may.
Go
When
ahead.
does the board consider year-end encumbrance? I know it sounds like it's a tight year.
28th would be we have a meeting scheduled on the 28th, which is the last Monday of the month, to address any encumbrances, if we're gonna take any actions or any final cleanup. But again, we don't expect any encumbrances.
Right.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. Brunel this evening? I do want to acknowledge both the town and the school for getting the budget committee draft warrant articles 2 weeks plus in advance. I know they both still have to be voted on, and there will be potential changes to that, but I appreciate the transparency to have visibility into those prior to those being presented on December 18th. All right, if nothing else for the town, we'll move into school business. We'll go into our process for school voting this evening. Just to recap for those watching at home, we have spent about the last month going through a review process with the school. Started with 2 joint sessions over at the fire station with the school board that was led by the school board. Budget committee members had opportunities to attend and ask questions. That was followed by a meeting on November 13th, where there was additional presentations, additional questions by the budget committee. Since then, I don't believe we've had any additional questions that have been asked via the spreadsheet. So tonight we'll move into the voting part of the process. We'll get through as much as we can tonight. We do have a meeting scheduled next week, December 11th, for additional voting if we need it. I will say, if there are questions that, because we have a meeting scheduled next week, there are questions that come up tonight. Obviously, we have the BA and the superintendent here. We don't have other department heads or principals here. If there are questions that come up as we're looking around motions or potential reductions, we'll certainly want to give them time to respond to those. I mean, they may not have all of those answers this evening.
Chair, we do have people remotely.
Oh,
right
perfect.
here. Yes.
So let's just, I know we had some last time with people speaking from the back, and I did get some feedback. Actually, a former budget committee member actually emailed because he was watching and having a hard time hearing. So if we have a direct question for someone, whether it's a principal or department head, I'll let either you or myself call on them to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also learned that there's a delay between what they hear through here and then what's on
Okay.
YouTube, so that was part of it.
I think having the
About a
microphone
7-second delay.
Yeah, it is,
Or
yeah.
longer, depending on the.
having the microphone close will be helpful, because I know last time it was in the corner, and I think people watching at home couldn't. And I went back and watched it later too, and it was hard to hear those comments. The flow that we will use tonight, if you have your binder, we'll be going in order. If you don't have your binder, we're going to go in the flow of the slides that were presented. So we'll start with CHS, LMS, GMS, and then we'll work our way through if you're following along that way. The process that we'll use is I'll start with CHS. I'll ask if we have any motions, any potential reductions, and then we'll move through each of the schools and the departments that way.
Would anyone like my binder for reference tonight? Does anybody need it?
I'll take a look through it, because mine is on my table. As I set down my keys, I forgot my binder.
And then
Thank you.
You're welcome.
before we start, Mr. Cutter did share with me earlier today, I'm just pulling it up here,
Yeah. Would you like
a
me to read it?
high-level update.
Yeah.
And so before we jump into voting, I felt it was good that we just kind of recap kind of where the budget started, reductions that the school board has made, and where we stand as far as an overall increase from last year's budget, as well as if you also want to speak to in that process the teacher contract agreement as well that was shared with the budget
Will it
committee
be
today.
last year's budget that we're operating off of, or last year's proposed budget?
When we're operating off.
We're operating.
Perfect,
off
okay, that's all I want to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So just to recap
Go
for the
ahead.
budget committee, right? So going back in time a little bit, we sent the budget to the Budget Committee on October 29th. We had our joint budget sessions on November 6th and November 12th. The superintendent budget to the school board at that time was $27,497,865, which is what you'll see at the bottom of that budget. Okay, that represents a not 3%, but a 1.8% increase over the default budget that we're currently operating in right now.
Which is how much? Dollar-wise?
The default budget is $27,013,496.
Dollar amount of the 1%.
$487,000.
$487,027, yeah, $487,000. Okay? That is before any school board voting actions. The school board did take action on November 19th during our public session. The school board did reduce that number by $282,000, which takes our new school board budget to $27,215,722. There's a $143 difference that Business Administrator Darling highlighted in our spreadsheet for us. That being said, this represents a 0.74% increase over default, less than 1%, and that's going into tonight.
Could you also speak to the teacher contract that was shared earlier today before we get started?
Sure, allow me to turn that one over to the superintendent who has those details.
Yep, give me 1 second, pull it up.
And you don't have to share details of the contract itself, because I just got it earlier today from you also, and that was the first time I put eyes on it was an hour ago. My question that I have, and maybe I'll just phrase this as a question while you're pulling that up. We heard in public comment that it was a 4-year agreement, but I think
No.
I saw that it was a 2-year agreement, so I just wanted to clarify that.
So it's a 2-year agreement. Year one, the estimated increase when everything is said and done, from adjustments with salary and insurance and some other more minor things such as stipends, we'll see an increase if it's approved of $263,711. That's based on current staffing that we have, current proposed staffing for next year.
And that's salaries only, or does that include the cost of increased benefits?
Everything.
Everything, that's in
Everything's
benefits as well.
We do, not to get into all the details about it, but we did make some adjustments to health insurance that did save us some money with that. So we can reflect that savings in year one of the proposed contract. Year two of the proposed contract, the increase of everything together would be $483,100.
So quick question, year one, if I take what Mr. Cutter mentioned as far as an increase plus this,
Yep.
overall, what is your,
If both of
Increase
those
with the budget
articles
committee.
were to pass, our current proposed budget after the school board, and then that teacher's article would be an increase of $466,000, $78.79 for a 1.73% increase.
And I know we'll get the details hopefully later, but based on where we are, that still carries the other insurance, right? The insurance that just screwed us?
Correct. What, yeah.
Do we have any protections built into this contract?
So we are exploring other avenues for insurance
So
in the
that's,
district.
so if we get assessed again, it's gonna be on the backs of the taxpayers on top of,
If there was another assessment,
because it
then
didn't get
yes.
split last time. I expect that it would not get split again.
Well, we looked at it from a legal standpoint, we couldn't.
So I don't want to get
I don't want to get into the
details.
weeds of all that, but
Yes,
like,
well,
we
I-
did ask legal if that was
I
something.
don't want to get into the details of the warrant tonight. That was not my intent.
No,
My
it's gonna
apologies.
be, no, it's important to understand as we go into the budgeting,
I
where,
agree.
what risks.
And
The,
that's what I
the
mean-
insurance part of this is important,
Yeah,
right?
no, I agree.
And the 2-year contract that we have is partly a 2-year contract because the board was concerned about insurance.
So why are we
Right.
doing 2 and not 1?
We're doing a 2-year because that was more advantageous for us under the 2.0 plan while the board reconsiders new insurance plans. And one of the warrant articles that you're going to see as draft right now, right, is the Employee Benefits Reserve Fund, which is not a new warrant article. It's been an existing warrant article for employee retirement payments and the like, right? That warrant article this year, the board had quite a bit of debate last night about starting to include that, so we build up a protection in the event school care goes insolvent, right? So the board that's not voted on, this board is still debating, but in that article, as of this moment, includes $50,000, which includes severance payments, plus a small dollar amount to start to build a little bit of protection in the event that there is risk there.
So, I will look forward to the details, because right now I'm feeling like I'm assuming a lot of risk that's not being shared. And I don't like that feeling. So I'm look forward to the details.
We agree, which is why we're looking at new insurance providers.
Right, but I don't, but again, considering what the driving reason behind the increase was, 'cause let's face it, whether or not it's our users or not, it's users. Why should the taxpayers be on the hook for the lion's share of that? So I have a problem,
I do
and I
wanna-
look forward to seeing the details.
I just want to clarify that one point. So we got an assessment, and I had a similar reaction. Is this something that would be covered in the split that's in the collective bargaining agreement, right? We reached out to legal counsel, as did many school districts, and were counseled, it wasn't a premium, it was an assessment, and therefore we couldn't do that split.
Sounds like we should have a wording with school cares and have them reword how the invoice came through.
And maybe that's something they'll do different in the future, but based upon what we received this fall, we couldn't do that split. It is something we did consider, and we looked into it and saw if it was a capable
Well,
option.
like I said, I look forward to the details of the contract proposal, because that should be factored into what was negotiated.
And that contract is in your inbox.
Yeah, good questions, more details on the 18th, thank you. And I think that information is helpful, just from an overall budget standpoint. I think, Mr. Taylor, your question was good too, of thinking of where the current budget sits to date without any action on our part, and if the teacher warrant article were to pass, that increase would be at the 1.7% over the current default. So I think
After
that's a
both
good.
years?
Huh?
After both years, or is that?
No,
year
that's
one?
just for year one.
Okay.
That's just year one.
Because we just estimate year two, because staffing can change that number.
I know we received the dollar amounts for the contract. Are we gonna receive a copy of the contract?
I sent
have a
I
TA.
sent it to you
TA
like at
tonight.
6:30.
Is it the full thing, or is it
6:30
just
tonight.
the?
It's-
You don't get the finalized full copy till after voting is completed and the contract's approved. You have all the changes that are proposed in the signed TA.
I'll take a look at, we have received the full draft in the past, so.
When I asked, I don't dispute that, but when I asked for the full copy, that's what I was told. So,
Well, the reaction then is you don't give me the full copy, I don't vote yes.
and
We
people-
don't get a full copy right away. I know that,
Well, again, it's good to see the words, because yes, there's changes, but changes compile over years. So
Okay.
I have-
Table this until we have the
Yeah,
warrant
this
article
is
meeting.
good discussion.
We're never gonna get to voting.
Let's move into voting for this evening. So we're gonna start with CHS. You can,
Are we going to get any answers to the questions that were in the spreadsheet?
They've all been
I
answered.
think they've all been answered. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They've all been answered in column I.
There's only 23 pieces of software in the whole school system that we buy licenses for.
we're not there yet.
Which question are you looking at?
The first one, the,
I think that was referring to the line items themselves.
Yeah, that was within one specific section of the technology budget.
okay.
That link is, because the question was, that line item had gone up significantly. Which of those were, what drove that increase? Was it a year-over-year increase for a particular software item? Was it new software? And so that link in column I that takes you to a spreadsheet that the IT director put together shows, was this new or was it an increase? So if you look at that spreadsheet, you can see at the bottom there that there's 4 pieces of software that look like they are brand new that total about $25,000. And then the rest are either increases, flat, or a couple have a decrease. But that was the driving question, was why did that particular line item go up significantly?
Since we're on it, before we get to technology, it seems like it still does not capture that dollar amount anywhere near of what the increase is. So it's like we still haven't gotten the answer.
Yeah,
So we can ask for that to be revisited when we get to technology. All right, let's go to CHS. Flip there in your binder, or if you're in the Google Drive, you can open the PDF that says CHS requested. These are updated, correct, Ms. Starling, from school board action, right?
Correct.
Okay, so currently, CHS is down $32,506. Do I have any motions for CHS this evening?
I've got 3, but I'll wait to see if anybody else has any.
Go ahead, 'cause I'm totally in my head.
Just go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
All right, I'll go smallest to largest. First one's gonna be line 641, textbooks new.
Can you give us a page,
Specifically
can you
the
give us a
yearbooks?
page on that, please?
Yeah, hold on, page 3.
Page
Thank
3
you.
in the paper.
Page 3.
For yearbooks. Looking to reduce the yearbook line by $140, leaving 1. I understand the need for the police department to have one, and 1 for the SRO, but the need for 3 in the office feels a little bit of a,
Yeah, where you on?
Which, I'm not seeing that on page 3.
it's,
Sorry.
maybe it's not page 3.
That's not 640.
Maybe it's a different 640. I remember seeing it, I just don't remember where I saw it.
It's probably under administration.
Yeah, there's 640s on every page.
Almost there. Athletics.
This was under yearbooks?
Okay, it's,
Yep.
page 20.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Page
20, line 641, textbooks new, 5 yearbooks, 3 for the main office, 1 SRO, and 1 LPD. Looking to reduce that by $140 to leave 1 yearbook in the office, 1 for the police department, 1 for the SRO.
Motion by Mr. Taylor to reduce line 641 by, what was that amount again? I apologize.
$140?
$140. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second by Ms. Douglas. Discussion?
There's also one that goes to the library.
but at the end of the year, can we not put the office one in the library?
Well, I'm just saying that of these yearbooks, one of them goes to the library.
Typically, there's 1 in the main office, 1 in counseling, 1 in the library. That's why there's 3.
The
What
town,
did it-
the town library I'm referring to.
The town library.
So at the end of the year, is there a reason why the one in the main office can't be logged into the library? Like, if I were a parent of a kid here, I'm not sure I want my kids' face in the town library during their school tenure, honestly.
They're all there.
Well, my kid's not in district, so I really don't care. But I was like, I would not
I'd
feel
love my
comfortable.
child's face in there, so yeah, I'm good for it.
What is the
Why in
SRO,
the town library?
what
Okay.
is the SRO and the LPD use? yearbooks
LPD,
for?
I've been explained to in the past that they use it for being able to identify students for a number of reasons, whether there's an investigation that needs to be done, somebody goes missing, et cetera, so makes total sense that the police department should have it. SRO is probably more of a, hey, thank you. So if we want to reduce the SRO one, I'm okay with that too. Just just don't see any reason for 5 of them that probably, for the most part, collect dust, and hopefully the one at LPD collects a lot of dust.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll roll call vote. So this was a reduction of $150.
140.
I'm sorry, 140. Thank you. Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Cutter,
No.
Mr. Brunel,
No.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes,
I am a yes. Mr. LaPlante,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes?
and Mr. Burke.
No.
Motion carries 5-3. Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
All right. Item number 2 is on page 16, under 2120, school counseling services, specifically looking at, I guess this would just be a continuation of 330, professional services. It's on a split page. I'm specifically taking a look at the last 2 lines, the PSATs and the NM SQT testing.
Okay.
Looking to reduce that particular line by $1,952.
$1,952, line 330. The motion's made. Do I have a second?
yes,
Second by Ms. Douglas. Discussion?
The way that I came up with that particular number is reducing the test for the 10th grade at $16 apiece. And the reason for it is based on less kids going to college and why pay for 3. I understand the NMSQT is a mandatory exam, so that one cannot be touched.
I thought, I
But
forgot the state did it.
The other PSATs are completely optional.
Are we obligated to provide those?
Not for free, because my kid paid for it.
I mean, we're not obligated, but the SAT is the state test that we are obligated to take, so we do like to give them a PSAT in advance so they get used to the
Oh,
testing.
no,
I mean,
absolutely,
it's
but it's,
pretty-
the school district is not required to pay for it.
We're
Not
obligated.
required, but every district I've been in has paid for it for at least 10th grade, if
We're
not.
obligated to provide the SAT at no cost. We're not obligated to provide the PSAT.
Correct.
Is there a reason why we have to do 2 PSAT exams then? With the exception of course, I understand that your response will probably be, the students will be better prepared.
Well, we only give the one.
What's that?
So that
Yeah, we
need
only
the
give the
data.
one.
Well, then why does the budget say that there's a $10 per student fee for the
For eighth and
8, 9, and then 16 for the 10,
Yep.
and then a 15 for the
So there's
NMSQT?
2 versions of the PSAT. There's
Okay.
a PSAT for students in grades 8 and 9. We only give that to grade 9 students. And then there's a 10th grade and above version that we give to the 10th grade students.
Okay, and then you also give the NMSQT?
The 11th grade.
Well, we give it to the SAT, to the juniors in the spring when it's SAT day.
Okay,
That's the required state
okay.
testing.
So I guess what I'm not understanding is you do 2 PSATs.
Two
You do,
prep.
you do
Two prep
9th
tests.
graders and then 10th graders
Okay,
again.
yeah.
Isn't that the
we do
next
So
for-
I'm looking to reduce it down to,
That's not
they
the
get one PSAT exam, and then they take the NMSQT.
Which was in the fall, it wasn't in the spring.
PSAT is in the fall.
The national, because it's the National Merit Scholarship qualifying test.
Correct, it's just a
Oh, no.
PSAT.
Right, it's not, yeah. But
So-
realistically, so the kids pay how much, $16 towards it, or we pay $16 towards it?
We cover the cost for our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders to take it.
Was your motion, Mr. Taylor, to get rid of one of those?
Yes, my math is, as long as I
So,
figured out the 5,000 back to total cost and then breaking it down to the number of students, my idea was to go ahead and reduce the 10th grade one. Nope, the 10th grade one at $16 apiece. If
I actually.
people would rather, I'd be happy to go ahead and bring it down to the 9th grade one.
Realistically, and I appreciate the concern of, well, it gets some more practice, but there are free practice tests. There are opportunities, and if people are really serious about this, they're paying for a tutor. So, I get it. My kid took both of them. I understand. I see how it works. But I don't think that paying $35 for the test is
I
going
mean,
to.
if we want to improve the test scores of our
That's right.
students, we have to give them tests.
And have data to compare.
Exactly.
No,
Trying to
there
improve
are-
test scores and high-stakes testing within our district, and now you're saying, oh, we don't want to do this. This makes
No,
zero
I'm
sense.
saying your
Well, no,
strategy is not the
it-
best one.
it
Because
does-
there are.
By giving kids
Hold on,
the
hold on.
opportunity to
One
take the
percent.
test? Like, what are
So-
you talking about?
So, let's see, if only they had a website.
This is
where
so-
allowed them to take the test for free, to get comfortable with the test.
So when is the budget committee going to dictate to the school how to run the school?
How much do the taxpayers have to pay?
Okay, guys.
This is a PSAT, guys. I mean,
This
come
is a
on,
budget
this is
question.
common
This
sense.
is a budget
Hey, hey,
question.
hey,
And this
nope.
deserves to be in the budget for the
Guys,
kids.
enough. We're done. Move
So,
on.
yeah, we're gonna have
It's
this
going to be a
argument-
long night, Chairman. It's going to be a long
Let's
night.
go.
This is
Hey,
how we're starting.
Stop. Let's go.
You
We're done.
started.
Guys, we're done. Stop. Back to discussion. Any
Can I ask how
additional?
many students you base that on?
I basically tried to do the backward math of $5,000, and again, I have a
Yeah, no, I'm just
speaking
wondering-
suspicion that a round number like that is probably not, but it came out to approximately 119.1 students. And then I just took that number times the 16.
Because, I mean, there are far fewer students than that. I mean, I don't know, let's take like this year's 10th grade class, how many are in there?
Off the top of my head, 80-ish, give or
Yeah.
take, yeah.
I mean, that's basically what each class is 80. I mean, it's so,
I mean, this, as it's written right now, we give it to 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, right? The 9th graders take the 8th, 9 version, that's $10. The 10th graders take a version that's $16, and then the juniors take a version that's $15. And we're preparing them to take the SAT, which is the state testing, which everything is measured off of their junior year. And we do this in the fall. And this is pretty typical because we're trying to get data to see how the kids are doing. We're trying to improve test scores to make the school better. So this, we do dedicate a whole day to it in the fall. There's prep for it. This is a pretty straightforward thing that schools do.
Alright.
So it's
I'm-
done during a school day.
Yes.
Interesting.
All right, question. I'm
Has,
calling.
there's a day that we're told to do it.
All right,
Instead of- I
I'm
forget.
calling question on this one, so we're gonna move to vote. Motion is to reduce line 330 by $1,952. Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Cutter,
No.
Mr. Bruno,
No.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes,
I am a no. Mr. LaPlante.
No.
Mr. Taylor
Yes.
and Mr. Burke.
No.
Motion fails 3-5. Go ahead, Mr. Taylor, with your third one.
All right. Hopefully it doesn't cause the same amount of fireworks. If so, I apologize. All right, next one, let me find the page. Athletics, transportation,
oh, that was not mine, so go. Which page?
which unfortunately I used the supplement that was as part of the folder. They
Page-
broke it out by.
Page 22,
Okay, thank you.
towards the bottom. It bleeds into 23.
Into 22, okay. Looking to reduce that line item by $6,608.
Second,
A motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Ms. Douglas. Discussion. Is this line 519, transportation? Is that correct?
Yes, athletics, transportation.
Go ahead, discussion.
So as I went through, and first of all, thank you very much to the school for breaking it down by number of participants and how much the busing is for each one. At some point, I would love to see that for co-curriculars as well, so I don't get perceived as somebody that's picking on sports. But as I went through, unless there was a typo in there, I read that wrestling was $11,000 for 10 students. And no other sport ends up being at a transportation cost of more than 500, and most of them are down closer to 300. Meanwhile, based on the wrestling numbers of 10 students, that comes out to $1,100 a student. And, at that point, I think I've made it pretty well known that, and for one particular group to go ahead and use up that much more of the transportation budget, questions need to be asked in terms of being able to fund that to that particular level. And I get that there's meets, so like indoor track, I think, runs into a similar situation. Luckily, they have more participants, and they're closer to about 750. So, just, I think if you take a look at the rest of the sports, everybody's under 500. I'm trying to put a cap that will only pay for $500 per student on activities like that.
So question to the administration, and thank you I agree, thank you for the breakdown, because it's helpful. What drives the wrestling to be so high?
Well, if you're using that breakdown, there's just not as many athletes last year on that team. Right.
you have to do a bus, right?
Yeah, and you gotta do a bus.
Right,
So
Right,
we
but
only
even
have-
that overall number, though, was $11,000, and I think,
I had
Mr. Chair, hold on one second, Mr. Chairman, I think if you take a look, because you've got it right in front of you,
Yep.
for winter track, isn't that somewhere in the neighborhood of, it's not even close to 11,000 total,
Yeah, so if you're
right?
comparing those two,
7,000.
there's a lot more meets for wrestling than there are for track.
Okay,
So they're just going to more competition in wrestling,
Okay.
right? Like they're wrestling probably twice a week, once during the week and then once on the weekends. Winter track probably has 3 or 4 significant meets that they're going to over the
Okay.
course of the season.
Looks like
So
they
they're
have
just not going to
13.
the same number of events.
It looks like track has 13 and wrestling has 16.
So I had a similar reduction, but for a different reason. So I'm looking at, and I know that the reason that we see 2 increases is because we're currently operating in a default, and we're trying to catch the budget up. But the reality is the default budget is based on a budget that was significantly underspent and still had an increase. So I would contend, well, I don't like this budget to begin with, and I think March is gonna be interesting. But I don't think that we need to include both of the increases because one of them's already been absorbed. So when we're looking at a budget that, let's face it, it's gonna be a tough March. We have to find what we can where we can, and if we've already absorbed one increase, I would rather add the second increase and not both. So that would be my rationale towards a reduction of a similar size.
Is there additional discussion on this, or additional questions, I should say?
I mean, I do want to point out, we spent $84,000 on athletic transportation last year,
Yeah,
and the transportation's getting more expensive.
Per contract.
it's
Per
gonna get, but we have to at some point decide, do we want to fund everything and come up with reasons why? Or do we want to run the risk of being in another default?
What I'm just pointing out is that we did spend this money that
I-
we're budgeting for, right?
Sure.
Like,
Well, in this line item, but let's face it, it's a bottom line budget. You can absorb $5,000, because we had a significant underspend of over $1 million.
yep, and a lot of that was personnel, and we've cut a lot of personnel in the 2 years we've been here.
I'm still confident that you can absorb that amount.
Additional, what would a $5,000 reduction do to athletic transportation? What would that mean? And
I mean, it likely would be that we would spend next year and then around that money, $88,000, right? We'd have to transfer from another line at some point to cover that cost.
Would there not be a path to be able to just tell wrestling, I'm sorry, you can't do, as many meets as you've done in the past?
You would like to tell that to the wrestling?
And you know what, unfortunately, these are
Budget
some of the
committee messages,
conversations
they
that have to be
don't want
had,
wrestling to
that you
have
may have to scale back,
Knock it
or,
off.
oh, hold on one second, let me please finish.
No,
Or
we're
could,
being inflammatory over here.
no. Go, Mr.
or,
Taylor.
What it
yeah,
is.
I understand that there's probably other transportation costs as far as,
Look forward to dinner.
preseason scrimmages, things like that, that
I mean-
everybody could potentially take a
Wrestling-
little bit of a hit.
Wrestling is one of the sports, there's other sports like this as well, that fluctuate in numbers, right? I can remember the Campbell program having 20 to 30 kids a couple of years ago, because we hosted the state tournament in Bow, and Army and Campbell kids came up, right? Last year, you're down to 11 kids last year. I don't know how many kids signed up this year. We can ask Tony. He's not on the call, but we can have someone text him who's in the group right now to see how many kids are out for the team this year. It's one of those sports that comes up and down in numbers, right?
And I get it. And I mean, golf is another one that, you know what, golf is 10 participants, just like wrestling, but their transportation costs, even though lots of times they have to go
I do
to
think this
crazy
is good
places.
discussion. I do, right? And I think it goes back to one of the items the board and the superintendent have been talking about now for a year and a half, which is considering alternate options for these smaller teams, such as
school vans.
such a van,
Yes.
right? That is not making it on the warrant article this year, but that is something absolutely that we're still considering. In fact, we passed a policy recently that allows us to have something like this, right? But definitely still a discussion point.
How many of these teams would qualify for use of the van, if there was a van?
Depending on the meet, depending on the competition, golf could do it, obviously. Wrestling could do it for some of their events, depending on what they're going to. The different track cross countries, again, depending on the specific event they're going to. Because for different sporting matches, meets, games, you might not bring your full team of kids, right? Like golf, you might only bring 7 kids to a match, even though you may have 12, 13, 14 kids on the team, right? Same with cross country, right? Like you might only run 7 kids on a particular race because of the race you're going to, and then therefore you're not taking the whole bus, So it all depends on the specific event that they're going to, but, any of the running events, spirit, wrestling, I mean, if you had 2 school vans, and I'm not saying that, but then all of a sudden you could get up to 20 kids, and then you're talking a whole host of other teams that you could bring along to that. It's something more and more schools are going for. There's a big upfront cost to it, because you have to buy the vans, you have to make sure they're outfitted for school safety, and then you have to pay the
Maintenance.
additional insurance on it, but it can save you long-term in transportation costs.
So one other follow-up question. If I remember correctly, CTE over at Pinkerton, was the district not able to reduce transportation budget because
We did
they
do that,
self-commuted?
reduce it. They drive themselves.
Okay, so is there a reason why, in this particular situation, for the smaller teams, you could not do the same thing? What's the difference between having self-transport for CTE versus
Yeah, we have a look-
self-transport for sport?
Probably not all of them drive, I would assume.
There's part of that, right? And we have some tied into our contract that we would provide athletic transportation. And the kind of rule is that you are going to provide athletic transportation to events. When we go to other games, other competitions, they're expecting a bus. That's how they're expecting the kids, the camaraderie that goes on the bus rides, everything that comes
Is
along
there a
with that
liability
experience.
issue to that?
Well, I mean, if you are not, the liability comes to whether or not you provide transportation, period, right? So if you're going to declare that you're not going to provide transportation and you're not going to ask how anyone's going to get there, then you're resolved with the liability.
There's no
right?
waiver, because when I was in high school, I could sign a waiver.
You can sign a waiver for a parent to do that. There is that waiver process. But if you're going to have en masse people drive their kids to an event, then you just have to say for that event, we're not providing transportation. And we do this for we've done this for sports, we've done this for co-curriculars, even as recently a couple of weeks ago where we had a group and it wasn't warrant the cost of getting a bus for them. So we just said, if you want to participate in this activity, you're on your own to get there for transportation.
So I guess my closing remark is, I'll still go back to one sport using up 11,000 of the nearly, call it 90,000 round number, just seems to be excessive and somewhat wasteful. So, however it works out, whether it's a reduction in number of meets, reduction, everybody takes a little bit of a haircut because you still want to pay $11,000 for one sport. My bottom line is, it's just too much.
I think too, it's good to have the conversation, because if our population stays where it is, if we're gonna be transporting small teams, it is gonna be disproportionate. And so we have to have that conversation of how are we gonna handle that?
But
Do we accept it?
again, I'm trying to get away from this. It doesn't matter that it's a small team.
I
The
don't
bus
disagree.
is $11,000 for wrestling. No other sport is close to $11,000.
They do have the most events if you look at it that way, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Again, ultimately, I don't disagree with you, but I think the other thing we have to consider is, if we consider, we can argue what the enrollment's gonna look like in the school, but regionally, the Northeast, we're seeing a decline. And as we see a decline, that means individual costs are gonna increase. And at some point, something has to give. So, it's a conversation that's gonna be ongoing. We can frame it as, we hate kids, or we could frame it as, how can we responsibly use the taxpayer dollars that are entrusted to our care? So that everybody in town can live comfortably and reasonably.
Can I
so-
put the superintendent on the spot for a moment? This is a question that the board has not asked, but I'm gonna ask. Do you think there's an opportunity in the budget to, if there was, these smaller transportation items, would a van pay for itself if there's an opportunity to reduce
Question comes to, who
a
drives it?
bus? Well, yeah, there's all
But if the
that,
coach
right?
isn't comfortable
I'm just
driving
taking like
it,
pure dollars, like a high level cost. Is there an opportunity, if there's smaller motions to be made across various transportation items, would that in effect fund a van?
I'm reading, the high school principal is sending some notes, so I might have her jump on here in a second. So give me a second, because she's listening.
She's on a 7-second delay.
Yeah.
A little longer, it depends.
So she's done the calculations for the savings on a van based on last year's transportation. And once you have the van accounted for, there's that huge cost,
Upfront
right?
capital cost, yeah.
Yeah. The savings was $28,839 across all transportation. But you have that initial cost for the van. And
How many
Jen,
years?
jump in if I'm misreading your note here.
Yeah, so how many years until you hit that break even? Is it 3
I mean,
years,
I
2
don't
years, 5
know
years?
the cost of a van. I can send an email to, a BA that I know recently bought one, and I can give you a rough estimate.
Let's task that as a follow-up.
Yeah.
Take it as a question.
It's probably gonna cost you 6 figures, though, to outfit it.
Oh, no, I'm
and
not-
everything
I wouldn't be
associated with it,
surprised.
so, yeah.
It's higher than I thought. So at least
That's
3
higher than I
years.
thought
To
as
answer your
well.
question, 3.5 to 4 years.
I'm generally good with a 5-year payback.
Has anybody done the math on how much we're actually saving people from driving themselves? Like, how many cases do we have where we're spending $5 of tax money to save $4 from individual people?
In terms of, if we were like carpool kids or
Yeah.
our parents drive their own. I don't know, I've never done that math. I think, I have no data for this, I'm just saying this off the top of my head. I think a challenge with athletics is you're usually departing either at the tail end of a school day and like the last block of the day or right after school. And it's challenging to get adults to transport kids at that time because they're working. So you can load them all on the bus. Like, let's say basketball, Epping left for a scrimmage today. They probably left around 3 o'clock, I'm assuming, maybe even earlier than that. I don't know how many people were around to carpool those kids
Yeah.
to Epping, right?
And realistically,
So-
my concern too would be, and to your benefit on this one, because I care about kids, would be the new drivers on unfamiliar roads in the dark or in inclement weather. Like, I would feel uncomfortable as a parent, my kid driving from an area that they're not familiar with, the weather that they're not
That was
quite
my
ready for.
question about liability earlier.
So, I mean, so I get it from that perspective, but I also think that there have to be ways to equitably share the burden.
Okay, I'm gonna call question on this again, because I think we've got some good follow-up action. Mr. Taylor, do you want to keep your motion and wait until
Yes,
we
I
get
do.
Okay, so question has been called. Just to recap, the motion is to reduce athletic transportation 519 by $6,608. Roll call, Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Cutter.
No.
Mr. Brunel,
No.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
I am a no. Mr. LaPlante.
No.
Mr. Taylor
Yes.
and Mr. Burke.
No.
Motion fails 3-5. Mr. Taylor, did you have any additional motions for CHS?
That's it.
Anyone else have additional motions for CHS this evening?
No, mine were for transportation, but simply because I believe that they could absorb the cost. Seeing the outcome of this one, well, I'll reconvene later.
Certainly, we can address that
But
next
I
week.
still believe that the budget has enough room where we don't need to have 2 years' worth of increase, because we've already absorbed one.
Any other motions for CHS this evening? Okay, I'm gonna move us. Next on the list was LMS. LMS currently sits at an increase of $20,243. Do I have any motions for LMS this evening?
I do have one.
Mr. Taylor?
Page 9 rolls into page 10.
Yep.
LMS Athletic Transport, line number 519, Transportation. Looking to make a reduction on that particular line item by $2,382.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Ms. Douglas. Discussion?
So my propose is to reduce the number of days for transportation from 5 down to 4 between potential rain dates over the 10 weeks and the fact that, as Brian can probably attest to, we've had to have youth sports go use the leach field over at LMS, or potentially you could walk across and go use the GMS side of things. And any of those sports could easily be able to run some sort of drill session, conditioning session, instead of having to go over to Sawmill 5 days a week.
Is that what you're centering this around,
Yes.
the transportation to
But
Sawmill?
it reduces to 4.
I would ask too, why these transportations don't include the annual increase, unlike the other ones. Because if these ones aren't gonna be faced with an increase, that then revisits my question at CHS.
I think it's easier to price out the specifics of the middle school. The high school schedules just have more variability because they're bigger schedules. So we do it more as a grouping for high school transportation. The success at CHS is a bunch of teams go to the postseason, but it does change day to, like, year to year, season to season, on who's good and who's not. So the high school transportation is just more of a general number, where the middle school one is spelled out a little more specifically to the sports. Because there's just less that's more capable of doing it.
So is it already, the increase in the contract and already?
Is
built into-
increased in these numbers that you see in front of you.
I'll do it back and
So,
compare.
Brian?
actually, two things on this. Have you had conversations yet with the town as far as utilizing the other fields, so it?
Yeah, they're
eliminates-
ongoing, yeah.
What's that?
I think they're ongoing. Tony's been spearheading that, our athletic director.
So the other thing is, I mean, to the point as far as cutting it, I mean, right now you have transportation for 5 days for 10 weeks. So that's during their season. I mean, you already lose 1 or 2 for games.
Right, correct.
So
I
it-
like
it
what you're
shouldn't-
saying, Brian. I was just trying to, be
I understand-
conservative as far as the
If it
reduction.
helps you, I understand that, the logic behind that. I don't have any issues with that.
Any additional discussion?
I guess my follow-up question would be, you've dealt with it the latest, is it the same where typically a LMS sports schedule is usually 2 games a week once they get to the
Yeah.
season, just like CHS?
Keeping your motion intact?
Yes, based on the fact that everything else is crashing and burning, I'll knock it down.
2,000, so the motion is to reduce line 519 LMS athletic transportation by $2,382.
One final comment, if I may.
Yep,
I mean, I'd
go
like to see this entire increase be removed from the budget, right?
Say that again, sorry.
The entire Sawmill transportation increase be removed from the budget. That is hopefully a goal of ours, right? Through continued collaboration with the town.
This feels like a start at that, but I would agree with you. All right, roll call vote. Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Cutter,
No, not at this time.
Mr. Brunel,
No.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. LaPlante,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
and Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Any additional motions for LMS this evening?
Well, I have a question. On page 5, under co-curricular, right, it's been a long day, co-curricular. What is the replacement iRobot? And how many of them are we talking about for $1,200?
Page 5.
Page
I
5.
assume that's for the robotics.
That's for the
team?
robotics team, and it's one, we
Please,
talked about that
iRobot.
during the,
So it's not like a vacuum iRobot?
no, it's iRobot specifically for the purpose of the robotics team.
Like FTC, FRC?
They have to have that, the first Lego league, they're not
Yeah,
first Lego.
It's
that's
one of,
not
it's not the
FLL.
Lego League, but it's one of the
It's
robotics
for
programs.
robotics.
Is it Bex?
I forget the name of it, but yeah. I assume they have to have that in order to compete.
We talked
Yeah.
about this, yeah.
Jen, are you there? Type it or speak it.
It is for the robotics team itself. They have a robot that has to be replaced, based on what the requirements are for the training, and because we haven't replaced the robots in recent years, the one that we have, is a desperate need.
Have we explored grants through like BAE or some other places that like to fund these kinds of
Across the
programs?
district, yeah, for robotics, and we've gotten a couple. We get a couple every single year, so. The high school gets the most because they have the biggest program,
Right.
but I know all 3 schools have pursued grants related to robotics. This year, I think both the elementary and high school got rewarded grants.
I'm sorry?
Elementary and high school got rewarded robotics grants. We did not unfortunately receive one for middle school this year.
Yeah, 'cause I just, having been on those teams, I know that the grants are available, and I know that
Yep.
some of them can be very generous if you
Yeah.
budget appropriately in your proposal.
Yeah,
I
and
would
the high
also-
school's gotten a significant amount of grants.
So that's why I get it, and I'm all for, yeah. Mike, we're going to states this weekend too. I'm all for robotics. I just question whether, I'm always reluctant to go to the taxpayers first when I know that grants are available. So I would like, I guess, having an understanding of what has been received and where it's been directed would be good for me to understand and get behind this.
I would say grants aren't always a guarantee, but I agree we should go after all of them that are there. And I would say, and business sponsorship opportunities. If that isn't something that we have explored, especially for robotics, I think that's a prime
Oh,
opportunity.
absolutely. And generally, all it requires is a nice little logo on the back of the shirt.
Any additional motions for LMS this evening?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead.
It's, page 8,
Page 8.
up towards the top, library.
Yep.
I'd like to make a reduction of $3,196.
$3,196. The reduction is is that under six?
And World Book.
I will second it.
644? Okay, motion by Mr. Burke, second by Ms. Douglas. Discussion?
Yeah, I don't see that line in the other libraries, in the other 2 schools. And the other thing is, I don't know when the last time anyone here on this board has picked up Encyclopedia Britannica to research something.
Are those
World of
digital?
So these are the digital versions
Digital.
of it.
I understand, but
Yeah,
I
I hear you, yeah.
Are they not
when was the
accessible?
last time someone opened up,
I know we always have the conversation of why Wikipedia is not an appropriate resource, but my question would be too, is there a reason why we can't collaborate with the town and access, it must be available through their subscription service.
I mean, some subscriptions, I don't know if this is true for these ones referencing right here, have specific school versions, right? That you're accessing only certain information that would be appropriate in the school setting versus a more general one. I mean, you can do it more general, you're just potentially
Oh, yeah,
exposing your
that's-
kids to different
adjusting block
things.
styles
you
and
know?
whatnot. I guess it'd be for me, it'd be worth the conversation, I mean, we have a children's section in the library, are we honestly gonna say that they don't have
Yeah.
the children's version of the encyclopedia at their library?
I think Jen's on the raise her hand here, maybe she can provide some.
Just before she does that, I mean, my thought on this is, do we need both? Like, is there,
we need one.
well, maybe, but I don't know that we would need both, but go ahead, Ms. Grantham.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so, the reason that we have these in is part of the library, class that we have offered for our 5th graders, as well as research contacts for our students. As project, on a source that has been vetted and provided as a safe resource for our students to utilize.
Are they utilizing it though?
This is something that I think we could take a cut on for one of them if we kept one and went one away.
Do we know the breakdown of the cost of each of them?
I can get that for you. I'm not, off the top of my head, I don't have the individual ones, because of course I left my budget binder on my desk.
Okay. Can we
If
get that?
I'm trying to piece it together from, other lines, yeah. So CHS, for example, has Noodle Tools, it's one of the ones involved here, that's $700, so of that 3,200, I'm rounding, 700 is the Noodle Tools, that's in the high schools. There's a high school info base that covers, history, geography, current issues, so on and so forth. I'd imagine maybe that's some of that other encyclopedias here. The high school pays $12.50 for that, so those two together is $21.50, right? That would probably cover a good chunk of what that middle school section is there. And that's just a guess, just trying to look at how the other schools broke down their stuff.
You want to keep your motion, Mr. Burke, or you want to pull it and get more information?
I'll pull until we get more information.
Okay.
Can you also get the information on the high school as whether or not those do fall into it? And I know it'd be like difficult, it's like we asked this about the library, but how many people use it?
The library?
Not the library, no, just
Oh,
the encyclopedia.
The
is-
particular resource.
Everyone has a Chromebook.
I mean, I understand the logic of, to your point about Wikipedia, like, that's not, I don't want my kids using that
Yeah,
as
I'm
their,
not saying
as their source of truth. I want them to go to safe and reliable places to get when they're researching. My question would be, are there duplicative services here with some of these? And do we need 2 or 3 of these? Is one sufficient?
So I'll pull my motion until we get more information.
Okay. Can we tag that as a follow-up, please? Yep. Any additional motions for LMS this evening? All right, seeing none, I'm gonna move us to GMS. GMS currently sits at a increase of $254. Do I have any motions for GMS this evening?
So I guess one question would be, I remember the carpets,
Yeah, they're
every time I
rugs.
see the carpets, I'm thinking actual carpet, I'm not thinking like,
Reading
like
rugs.
throw rugs.
Yep.
So sometimes I'm like, why are we doing raw carpets again? So I'm trying to figure out what we're doing with the building. But yes, the rugs.
Any motions for GMS this evening? Last call. All right, next on the list is curriculum. Curriculum currently sits at an increase of $16,514. Do I have any motions for curriculum this evening?
Yeah, I have one.
Mr. LaPlante?
It's page 1, 650 software, looking to reduce by $10,447.80.
Let me capture that again. 10,000.
$447.80.
A motion by Mr. LaPlante,
Line? I'm sorry.
line
It's
650 software.
Specifically, the.
Second, if he doesn't have.
Second, Ms. Douglas, discussion? Go ahead.
So, Corey, with the information we got back from the school system, we only got back GMS's use rate. We didn't get back LMS's, but GMS's use rate over the past 2 months, only 38% of the teachers used them. Out of those 38%, only 5 used it more than double digits in the past 2 months. It's not being utilized, in my opinion.
Which particular application are you referring to?
Corey.
I thought we didn't have the middle school in there?
No,
Hold on, I think we have it.
It does say GMS and oh, you're talking about the usage. Oh, okay.
usage, yeah.
Oh,
So roughly 30% of the teachers are using in GMS, again, over the past 2 months. Out of the 11 that used it, only 5 used it more than double-digit times.
It seems like, yeah, there seems like there's a lot of resources available, if we're not using it. why
And,
pay for it?
and out of the 11 that used it, only 3 used it at morning meeting, which, I mean, that's not really, I don't know if they're, morning meetings at class with their, so that's my thought process behind that.
Additional discussion. In full transparency, I will abstain from a vote on this particular line item due to products that are in this line item that are my company's. So I just want to be transparent about that. Any additional discussion?
What is the impact to the district with this motion?
We're trying to get
We're trying to
Jen
get-
back up here to
yeah.
speak. She's not coming through.
Can
And
you
Dan,
hear me now?
there you
Yes.
are. So I think it's used more, that's why I was surprised, because I do know that's true. GMS, I think it's used more frequently at LMS. So Jen, can you weigh in here?
I can. So we have our data that was sent. I'm not sure where it went to because we did send it up through
I thought we
Sarah.
had
But we have 100% of our teachers are using Tikori. We use it as our morning meeting time for our advisory time. It's directed and specific. I can pull that data. It is used daily by our teachers. And we've had feedback meetings with Tikori over the course of this fall and last year. It ties directly with our responsive classroom that we utilize at the middle school, and it's used on a daily basis.
I'm just going off the information provided in the spread,
We
into
have
the question.
usage for all. for
What does this
purposes.
software do?
The software is a social emotional learning software that gives a directed activity each day for the students. So it's something where they're having connections and conversations regarding different components of what their day is. So there's, if the day is, I'm going to say something stupid right now because it's all that's popping into mind. Even in middle school, there was a Sesame Street Day a couple of weeks ago. So they had a connection about Sesame Street. They watched a video about the origins of Sesame Street, where it came up to, and kind of talked about things in their life that apply to what that was. It's a plug and play, so all the videos and all the content, once again, are vetted and safe and not anything that are off any deep ends. It's very safe and secure topics for the students to be able to have those conversations, to make connections and to feel connected to school and each other. It ties in with our Kindness Matters at the middle school, because if you have a middle schooler, you might know they're not always the nicest to each other, and this is something that we're working on, helping them develop those small group connections in their advisory time and talk to one another.
So what would be the break? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was done.
Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
I was just gonna ask, what's the breakdown as far as the budget of 10,447.80? How much of that is allocated to GMS versus LMS?
I would assume about half.
50?
Yeah, about 50%. Just the middle school doesn't have the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet doesn't have middle school.
No, it's not in the budget document. There's the GMS data on there, but that's it.
Well, we'll put that in because we're both looking at it right now.
I mean, I can amend it.
So
then.
I was gonna make an amendment. So I'll make an amendment to the motion
Go ahead.
to change the reduction to $5,223.90.
Second.
Motion to amend by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Ms. Douglas, to change that amount to $5,223.90. Any
Do you want to
additional?
hear from Mr. Mitchell? He had his hand raised. I don't know. if
Yeah,
it's
sure.
raised.
Yeah, any additional discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
Alright, sorry, yeah, just to explain some of the data that comes up with the spreadsheet too, so, it is a little deceiving because when you pull up so if you think about it, the way that the program works, it works as a playlist, if you will, and so a teacher can actually pull it up. We do not have 100% accurate, usership, I will admit that, and we've been working towards that. Some of it has to do with our schedule and the morning meeting. We've been striving towards that, and I would say cutting away all of the money while we have been evaluating whether or not Kokori is the right tool. We will need a tool, so to take away all of the money would limit our ability to find what the right tool is. But actually, when it comes to just the Kokori showing at 0%, oftentimes what you can have is a teacher can open it up and it wouldn't show that it opens. And I'm stumbling through the explanation here, but they can click on it and it's almost like opening up a screen without opening up the activity. And
They have to click completed on the activity for it to count.
yeah. So they can open up kind of the screen without actually completing the activity, and so that it wouldn't show it as a completed. So I'm not trying to skirt around that. So we do have a bit more usership than the data showed on that spreadsheet. So it is used more, not as much at the middle school. So it has, and for the teachers that do use it, as I've been knowing these questions have been coming up. Without being too dramatic, I said, if Kokora went away, how much would that impact you? And they said, quite a bit. So it would have an effect if it went away completely, and it would have a huge effect if a SEL tool went away completely. So by taking away complete funding for all SEL tools, we would have to figure out how to bring that in to support our morning meeting activities and our SEL curriculum in one way, just as you consider going into your voting right now.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Mitchell.
thank you for the chance to speak to that.
Yep, so I'm gonna call a vote on the motion to amend, and then we'll actually vote on the amount itself. So, Mr. Olson? This is just to amend the motion.
To move it from
From
10,000
from
to
10 to 5.
5,000?
Correct, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Cutter?
Yes.
Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes.
I am abstaining. Mr. LaPlante?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Burke?
Yes.
That passes 7-0-1. So now we will vote on the amended amount, which is a reduction of $5,223.90. So, Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Cutter,
No.
Mr. Brunel,
No.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
I am abstaining. Mr. LaPlante,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
and Mr. Burke.
No.
Motion passes 4-3-1. Any additional motions on curriculum this evening?
On what?
Curriculum. All right, seeing none, I'm gonna move us to technology. Technology budget currently set, up $78,057. Do we have any motions for technology this evening?
I don't have a
Mine doesn't
motion yet,
appear
but I
it
do have
should
a
be low.
question for our resident IT expert, Mr. Brunel.
Go ahead.
Because during the explanation, I was at an airport when we were hearing it during the questions. As far as the three virtual servers, remind me, do you have to do all three at the same time based on the way that you're clustering it, and that's why it's either 3 or nothing, or can you have two clustered and the third is a quote-unquote nice to have or extra redundancy, or is 3 a minimum?
So 3 would be a minimum, it's usually a N+1.
Okay,
And then having them be the same class or equal just makes the clustering a lot simpler because you're dealing with similar workloads across,
you already sold me.
so.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Olson? Did you have a question?
No,
Sorry.
my page is blank for technology for some reason on my spreadsheet. I don't know if it's somewhere else.
There should be a PDF at
Yeah,
the
there's a PDF in there.
bottom that says technology, REQ, inside the budget folder.
On the website or?
Oh no, sorry, on the in the Google Drive.
A budget folder link.
Yep. You share it with you once more.
I don't,
Can you share that
I
with
don't
me,
know if I
please?
have that.
I will share it.
I was
Thank
just
you.
looking at the spreadsheet that was emailed.
Mr. LaPlante, while he's sharing that, go ahead.
Just a question on line 734, page 1, on the Chromebooks. Incoming 5th grade class at $300 a piece, $27,900.
I was gonna share with the budget committee.
I get that they get damaged, they're there for 4 years. And I understand how the 5th and 6th don't take theirs home, 7th and 8th do. Is there a way?
Seventh doesn't
Oh, 7th doesn't take it home either, right? So, okay, so they're still in the class, they're still in school. So my question is, out of the 8th graders that graduate and move on, there's gotta be a certain number of Chromebooks that are probably still in decent shape that could be passed back down to the 5th graders, so you're not having to buy 100% new for 5th grade.
Don't those go to the elementary school, or am I?
Yeah, I mean, we do try to repurpose, so in general, right, like there's two schools that go through, that Chromebook essentially goes through 4 years, right? It's about 5th grade and 9th grade. And I'll let Brendan jump in here if I misspeak on any of this. At the end of that, right, some of those Chromebooks can come back, and we haven't ever bought, besides the initial burst, or I think it was, again, anyone correct me, because I just been here 2 years. We don't buy Chromebooks for the elementary school. So we bring those ones back and put them into the elementary school classrooms, because they're just not using them at the same frequency or that have the same needs. So if they're a little bit older, not as up to date as a current one, they go into the classroom sets in the younger grades. We also repurpose some of the parts from them to do all the repairs, so we're not, buying as many parts and other things over the course of the year when we're repairing Chromebooks and stuff.
And I appreciate that, but
Yep.
I just, does the elementary school need 80 new, 8th grade Chromebooks every year? And then could we save 10% of that and
Yeah.
recycle that back down to the 5th graders from the 8th grade, so.
Yep.
As opposed to buy, 80, could we buy 72 and save?
I think, I have a question relative to that numbering there. So you're saying that they don't take them home until 8th grade?
Correct, we phased that out.
So why do we not just buy one for 8th grade and take it all the way through? And then have like 3 classroom sets per grade? Because let's face it, not every teacher is using a Chromebook every day. So like if today English isn't using it, but social study is, they check out the set of Chromebooks.
So the routine typically at the middle school is in their homeroom, they pick up their Chromebook for the day. So they'll carry it with them all school day and use it in the various classes. They probably don't use it in every single class, every single day.
Right.
But then, they're getting used to having one on them throughout their middle school years. And then they gradually get more responsibility with it. They return at the end of the day to their homeroom, pick up their cell phones then.
But does it have to be done that way? Why can't we just have like a couple sets on them? Because let's face it, you don't have cell phones, but they all know how to message each other through Chromebooks.
This is true.
So are we really accomplishing much by, still handing them the technology? Personally, I don't allow it in my classroom, so if my classroom wouldn't need a set. But then my English cohort might. So on the one day of the semester that I use the computers, I could borrow it from somebody else, but I wouldn't require one. Have we actually looked at who's using them, how often they're being used, and do we really need to outfit every single student within their own individual Chromebook if we can just have a couple of grade sets?
Yeah. I'm gonna have Brendan speak, our tech director. He just will talk about this more eloquently than I can, so.
Go ahead, Brendan.
We're unmuting him.
And while Brendan's coming online, I request inside the budget folder, and thank you, Mr. Cutter, for sharing that. I requested access. The only thing that I don't have access to is the enrollment projection document that's in there. And I had to. Oh, never mind. Go.
Hey, everyone, can you hear me?
There we go.
Yeah, you're good.
So to touch a little more like what Brian mentioned, so we try to move Chromebooks when appropriate to try to replace the aging devices down at the elementary levels. We also try to offset. We have our insurance fee which covers breakage, but we also use what parts we can without having to purchase new parts. So there's sometimes a savings there. Sometimes, depending on the damage of the device too, it's not just a replacement part like spills or other creative ways. Kind of kids find ways to damage these where it's kind of a full replacement. So sometimes those numbers that we have, we try to account a little bit for maybe new enrollees or, like I said, kind of using those extra devices for loaners or other parts and stuff like that. The other thing too, it's like we also have requirements with state testing. So like certain devices will only get to a certain operating system version. So as state testing and a lot of the other kind of like WIDA and the PSAT, Blue Book, like all those kind of state testing apps also have version requirements. So just because the hardware is intact doesn't mean that it's going to run the software appropriately, and that's where we kind of run into issues too. It's like having the shuffle of devices around to classrooms is a little bit of like an older style where then you're in, with, hey, this class isn't available, or, then teachers kind of got to move things around if it's possible. I mean, the design of the one-to-one program is to have, equitable technology in every kid's hands and supporting it. So, if there's discussions about what one-to-one is in the future, then we can definitely kind of have those things. But as far as supporting kind of the program that we have in place now, like, we need to continue that replacement cycle kind of as we have proposed.
Thank you, Brennan.
And just to build off that too, and he mentioned it, Google is pretty aggressive on the operating system, and as everybody knows, the Chromebook is just a browser, and Brendan raised it. If the browser gets behind, a lot of sites won't allow you to have access due to security concerns. 5 years is, whether the device is in good shape or not, probably 5 years is the average operating.
Right, so you give it to the kid in 8th grade, and 5 years later, they're 12th graders, and now they're mom and dads to go off to college.
A $300 device for 5 years it's
That's why people use Chromebooks.
But the reality is, I don't think that addressed the question of how many teachers are actually using them? Do we actually need them for every child? Because if you have 2 classrooms that aren't using them, then that's 2 sets of kids you don't need them for. The middle school, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's, hey, you know what? I'm looking ahead. I'm going to need my Chromebook only on Tuesday, and my colleague only needs it on Thursday. Why do I need 2 classroom sets? I only need 1 to accomplish both.
I think I don't disagree with your conversation right now. And I think that has to be part of our larger discussion. One of the things Brendan wants to do is revisit the 5-year tech plan for the district, right? I think we're operating right now as a one-to-one district. That's been the commitment made for
But
the
they're not
district.
taking them home, so it's not a true one-to-one.
Well, I think you're doing it age appropriate, right? Like, one of the reasons we shifted away from allowing the 5th graders to take them home is because they were getting damaged at such a high rate that we're losing value in them and having to replace them too high. So we're not having kids take them home till they're older. But we're still trying to do that one-to-one mentality in the district. That's something that we're gonna change from a district perspective. There are plenty of districts that aren't one-to-one, that approach this in a different manner and value that. I'm just saying, like, right now, we are one-to-one.
Right.
As we go through the tech plan, I'm sure we're gonna be looking for feedback
As
from
we
people.
start looking at ways to improve grades and scores, I sincerely hope we look at tech as part of it. Because the studies aren't in favor of one-to-one, tech all the time.
Yeah.
So we need,
I would agree with that.
so we need to like actually use it. Is one-to-one actually helping our kids, or is it hurting them? So
Yeah,
is there
I-
a way to benefit the kids in a way that teaches them responsibility with technology, but also encourages them to actually critically think?
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Like, I know. We actually agree more than I think people
No,
realize. Like,
Can I-
but we are trying to follow the plan we have in
No,
place.
and I
right
understand that. I just think
Right.
it's time for you to actually think
You
about
may
it.
recall when a previous superintendent brought this and made this one-to-one.
Well, I remember how it also got slipped in through end-of-year funds without a vote by the taxpayers.
I'm gonna ask you a
I remember that
question.
one.
That's exactly how it
I'm
happened.
gonna ask you a question around, thank you for access to the enrollment file. So
We could go on it because there was no cost impact, but by then, everybody was used to it.
current 4th grade has 88 kids. You're projecting 91 for 5th grade, and we're budgeting for 93 Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Can you or Brendan walk us through the rationale for that?
Yeah, Brennan wanted 10 more than what we were gonna do. I said no. So you come and
I
take
appreciate
this.
that.
And those
I
10
think he's
like
try-
as spares, like is that the logic behind
Well,
that?
and to like hedge your bets on kids coming in, like the projection's a projection, right? Like you could be under, you could be over, whatever the case may be.
And you're right,
So-
because I actually went back and looked at the trend of 4th grade to 5th grade over the last 4 or 5 years, and it goes up 2, 3, 4 kids per year. So I was just,
And I believe it's 93 because that's what we put in the high school.
it is 90.
Fine as
Yeah,
well.
93
So
is what's budgeted.
Consistency between the two schools at being at 93 there.
Okay.
So
That's
he,
One other thing we hope for too, or we don't hope for, but we plan for is that across the grade level, everyone has that same device and model. So we know based on the student that helps with how we age and everything. Equity, unless it's an IEP-driven change where they need a different kind of model, we don't want to give the incoming grade level a device that they're going to be responsible for 4 years and then try to give students an older device because they came later to the district. I mean, we try our best to always have students with the best device possible when they come in, but I mean that doesn't always work, but that's what we try to plan.
Yep.
To
Thank you. Thank you, Brennan. Any motions for technology this evening?
No, but I still want to get clarification, on 650.
Okay, do you want to elaborate on the clarifications that you're seeking? Or you're just looking for,
Well, we asked when we first got together as far as what drove the increase of $80,000.
Yep.
And he supplied us with, a spreadsheet that accounts for about $25,000 of an increase.
Brendan, are you able to talk about that line?
So I think what we were seeing for the 26 line was because that was into the default budget. Like currently this year, I've been in the negative that I've been moving money around to pay for renewals. So everything that's in that software line is like active things with the exception of what I've added. So, I mean, I understand where it shows that increase number. I don't know why that is showing as like the 79,000 increase, because these are all things like that we've had and that I've had to renew this year and like move funds around. So
Yeah, but
I understand where there's maybe
no,
confusion about that.
I think the piece that's missing to possibly answer your question, and I wonder if Dr. Taylor maybe could speak to this too, if she's on. I wonder if some of these came from school budgets or curriculum budgets.
Yeah, I
and
think there was
tried
a
to combine.
move to move some software lines from the schools, because they had previously, if we had a subscription that was like for X amount of users, I think they had tried to just like split the cost across the three schools. And I don't know
Yeah,
what
and I
year
think
they decided to
Screencastify was too.
phase to the district line, so maybe that was easier to read than trying to say like, this school has more users, so they pay more money, because really when we get a renewal or we get a quote, it just comes in one thing, unless it's a specific software for school.
So maybe what would be helpful for as a follow-up for this, under the notes section, like, was this in technology last year, or was it in curriculum, or
In
was
the-
it in GMS, or like just?
Because you should see an
Yeah,
offset
just-
savings elsewhere.
Correct.
And do I see that savings?
And
So
I-
for the question too.
I have to imagine that's likely where it came from, but it would just be good to
Because I
validate
think-
that.
I remember
Yeah,
Bill
for the
Brennan being
recommended
impressed
budget
with
for last year, so prior to
Well,
the
Tom went through the same
default,
thing.
that line was 94,560.
Say that again, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
94,560 was the amount of, that line in the recommended budget for last year, so.
So maybe if we look at last year's to see where the notes came from.
Yep, that would be helpful,
I'll
thank you.
Dig out my binder.
Any
Hold the binder.
motions for technology this evening?
I
Do have one, sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Olson.
Well, I've some questions about some of the software expenses. We have a PDF editor we're paying $5,000 for. There's numerous free PDF reader editors that exist in the world. Why are we paying $5,000 for one?
So a lot of free tools or trial-based tools, like usually have targeted ads, or they don't have an amenable privacy policy with which we're required to make sure they're not selling data and stuff. So it's like, I understand that a cost savings can come through an open source, option, but there's like a lot of major malware strains that are coming through free PDF editors right now. So it's like, we have this tool that I think our DLS might do training on and stuff like that, and try to use it district-wide, and it's an amenable, like I said, privacy agreement, so, we're safe from certain protections there too.
Open source one, you can get, I've never seen ads in one, other than maybe a phone app.
But the reality is New Hampshire is actually, and not my expertise, but this has been my experience. New Hampshire is now one of the strictest regarding student privacy laws.
Yeah.
So you actually, we have a very limited number of softwares we're even allowed to talk to. Like, everything gets completely vetted, everything is, because you don't know. Yeah, actually, that's why we ended up switching to Power School, because the organization we used refused to sign New Hampshire's.
Yeah, they have to
More
go,
restrictive.
I can speak to this as well from my professional work, like, in order for schools to use piece of software, it has to go through the student data privacy agreement that's been agreed upon by virtually every SAU across the state.
And we are more
And if that particular organization or software or company hasn't submitted to that and gone through the regimen as a part of that, then schools will say we can't use it. And we won't use
Why
it.
are we using software for things like creating a PDF that sends your data to someone else in the first place?
Well, this one is actually my kids who cannot remember to turn in their homework to save their lives because they lose everything, and they would lose their head if it wasn't attached. They submit their homework to me through Google Classroom and they use Cami to edit it. I actually won't accept it without it that way. Do not open it in Google Docs. The formatting gets all messed up. I actually don't do it. So Cami for me would be allow my students who really have executive functioning issues or concerns and are working on that. It allows them to turn in their homework on time without losing it. So that's what I use it for. So I do see that, yes, it's expensive, but they've signed the agreement. We're allowed to use, at least my school's allowed to use them, and it saves a lot for both kids who are still learning in a number of ways.
Well,
And teachers. Thank God for Cami.
I guess I don't, I don't know if that's a value to to offload the, the making sure that you do what you're supposed to be doing to software instead of learning to just have that responsibility. And,
I
I mean,
will-
is
you're
that what we're
welcome.
paying for in a PDF reader?
You're welcome to come talk. Well, you're not, I can't extend an invitation, but
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you if you're talking
In
to my
the,
students.
in the interest of time, I don't want to debate the merits of CAMI. Do we have any motions for technology this evening?
I have another question here. There was a, one that, we have a $20,000 Go Guardian, which appears, from what I can tell, to just be a blacklist, a web filter. We have a
So,
$20,000
It's a
web
web,
filter?
it's a student web filtering with a classroom management, capability built in. Students or, teachers can run sessions, make sure students are on track, deliver, like, set tabs up. It's used for when students are doing testing, so they can't open additional tabs and other things like that. So it's not just a web filter. It does a lot more than that.
Any motions for technology this evening?
It just sucks, it's expensive. I hear you.
Quick
I
question.
actually wish
Really
I had it,
expensive.
but-
Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
So I assume the percent increases, that's based on the default budget, so that's kind of a double. So like, for example, 11% increase is because you had to do for But I don't have a
The question
motion.
will be, where did some of these come from, and did we see the savings in other lines?
Yeah.
Because I do
That-
remember seeing Go Guardian and some of the other
Yeah.
ones split across 3 schools.
We asked that as
Yeah.
a follow-up.
No,
so we're gonna
absolutely.
catch
So now the question is, I'm gonna go back and look, and did I achieve a similar savings in that line? Because if it's here and not there, well, then it zeroes out essentially. But if it's here, and I'm still paying for the similar amount over there, well, I didn't actually achieve my savings, and now we played a shell game.
I would generally agree with you on that. Last call for any motions for technology
Not
this evening.
currently. Yeah, if we could just get that information for tech, that'd be awesome.
Next, we're gonna move to student services or special services, which is the name of the PDF in the file. Special services currently sits at a whopping $444,146 less than last year. Do we have any motions for student services, special services? I'm gonna move fairly quick on this because I think this one was done pretty well.
Yes, but
Go ahead.
yeah, no, I agree that it's likely close to what our needs are, but again, I question, are we gonna be able to fill the spaces? Like, I'm almost because the argument's gonna be, and it has been for the last half decade, that we can't fill the positions. So now we're in a situation like with the town where we were funding welfare every year and only touching $1,000 of it before recent events and state laws have changed. And so we were funding this, which essentially, and I really don't care who gets offended by it, but it became a slush fund. Now we have so now we have a revolving fund that we tap into as needed, so we're not raising the same money every year. Is it worthwhile considering doing a similar thing to this? Because the reality is, every year we're funding a significant number of employees that just don't exist. They're not taking the jobs, they're not here.
So we
And then
did-
at the end of the year, the money gets rolled into the general fund, and spent on other initiatives, good, bad, and different. Some of them I applaud, some of them I don't. I don't like the process. Would it make sense then, instead, figure out what we need, set up a revolving fund, and then actually budget to what we're actually gonna spend?
So I get it. I actually don't disagree with you. Like, and we are trying to do that, right? Like, we have cut a number of these paraprofessional positions
Right.
last year and this year, right? And we cut a special ed teacher in this budget, this proposed budget right here, because we can't fill these positions,
Right.
right? The board did a bottom line $150,000 cut with that in mind, that we recognize that there's gonna be positions that we gotta post, and it'd be wonderful if we can fill them, but like, the reality is that like, we're not going
Right.
to fill all of them, right? So we are trying to figure out, from a budgetary standpoint, how to account for that, so that the numbers are more accurate in that
Right.
view, right? Because we go back to our large fund balance at the end of last year. So much of it was personnel from positions that we just didn't have candidates
Right.
for, and so it puts this distorted picture out there.
Right.
And this is tricky, because with the paraprofessionals and with the case managers, because they're tied to kids' IEPs, like, we have to find that delicate balance of like, we can't just cut them, because from a IEP law standpoint,
Right.
we've said we're gonna provide this support, we have to provide the support, that's what the team determined. So how do you find that right balance of, yeah, we're not gonna fill every paraprofessional
Right.
position that we have, so we shouldn't budget for it all, but by law, we have to have all these positions
Right.
in our budget, right? So we are trying to find that right balance, and I think that's what we did at the board meeting when the board made that cut, trying to figure out how we can account for some of savings or not putting it in the budget, while also not cutting the specific
Right,
position
'cause
itself.
if somehow the stars aligned and unicorns appeared, and you somehow managed to fill all the spots, you have to fund them.
Right,
But the reality is, right now, we're taxing people for positions we're not, like I said, we're not able to
Right.
use. So rather than taxing every year, if you had the fund available, like, oh, wow, look at this, we got 2 more pairs this year.
yeah, and so.
we have a fund to help pay for that.
So we do have the reserve fund for special ed that we put money aside for. We can't necessarily use it for paraprofessional
Right.
support. We can do that for some of the out-of-district costs associated, and some other, obviously, special ed costs, which is why, one of the reasons why that we came in a little bit tighter this year, because we do have a reserve fund, that if we do have an unexpected move-in or two, that we've built that fund up now,
Right.
that we can access that without, like, there's no, like, one of the things we notice, myself and Ms. Starling and Ms. Pooler, when we looked at the special ed budget when we first came on board, is that there were, and I'm not, there's different philosophies, so this isn't judgment,
Right.
but there was budgeting of the unknown with special ed, where we've tried to shift that thinking and rather put that money into the reserve fund and just budget for the known in special ed. So that's why you've seen this kind of big decrease in these areas, because we were able to build that up.
Thank you.
And just on that point, you also note on the warrant articles, and I'm not sure if you had looked at them yet, but you will not see a special education one this year.
Well, I have my opinions on how the last one played out, so I'm very happy to not see another one on the warrant article.
Welcome.
So, but my concern is, we no longer abide by the whatever's underspent in special ed gets returned directly to the voter. But yet, I feel like we have some people who are still reluctant to really look into the details of this. And I think having a fund available for, yay, we picked up some more paras, would help people be more comfortable in making the reductions that are warranted without feeling like they are putting kids at risk.
So we gotta be careful with that, because even if we don't have the para, we still have to provide the service. So someone's gotta provide the service that's in that
Still, we're
IEP.
900 grand under.
No, but I'm saying, like, we're still bound by the service providing, that has to be a part of that. So if a kid has support in their IEP, which is traditionally that support isn't coming in the form of paraprofessional, and we don't have a paraprofessional for that role.
You have to contract it out.
Well, we have to contract out, or someone in the building has to provide that support, Like, do we have to borrow a teacher from a different responsibility to go into that math group to provide that support and different things, right? So we're trying to think of any creative solution to, like, account for the fact that the support is still there. We have to provide it by law. But we don't have a person in the job who would provide the support. We need to take someone from a different responsibility and do that.
Right, but I get that, and we seem to be making it work, because you were still several $100,000 underspent on that line.
Right.
So even when you're finding alternate ways of providing that service, we're still underspending.
And I think that's why we've been cutting, right?
Right.
Last year, we cut 13 paraprofessionals. I think there's another 6 in this one here, so we are trying to like reduce that down.
So, but again, my concern is not just with your budgeting, my concern is with some people here who may be reluctant to make reductions that I think are mathematically justified.
You have a motion, Carrie?
No, I'm looking
Mr. Chair,
at ways,
Can we move on? I mean, we're just rattling on and there's no motions being made.
I have
Other
motions coming.
categories to go through. If you have a motion, fantastic.
Make your motion.
I'm so glad you get to dictate, like, you know what, I thought it was a good conversation moving forward and good sharing of ideas, but clearly other people don't agree, so please move on.
No, go ahead.
No,
If you
I'm
have-
good for now.
Are there any motions?
I'm gonna have motions on personnel.
Any motions for special services? Seeing none, moving to food service. This is, in the folder, it says food service non-salary. This one currently sits at a reduction of $2,128.
Just a question, line 738 on page 3, new registers for LMS, 4,000. Also need new registers at CHS, 4,000. Can we stagger this? Is there one that is needed more than others? Can we split the difference here and defer one to next year?
Ms. Crowley's gonna.
Go ahead, Ms. Crowley.
So all three schools have $4,000 for new registers and pin pads because we started with 8 brand new registers about 6 years ago, and we are now down to 4 across the district. 3 of them have broken and 1 caught on fire last year, so we're replacing all of those registers at each school. So each school has a line for $4,000 for new registers, new pin pads, and then the high school has an additional $700 for a credit card machine.
So how many operable registers do we have in each school right now?
4.
4 in
And then we
each.
have,
No, how many at
At
each
each
school,
school.
Lauren?
oh, at each school, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that part. So it would be 2 per school.
That are operable right now?
Yeah, well, okay, so again, sorry, I'm getting confused. Sorry. Okay. Griffin has 1 operable register and a Chromebook. Middle school has 2 operable registers. Campbell has 1 operable register and a Chromebook.
And what's ideal state? What do you need to operate at like 100%? What do you want to have?
2 in each school.
2 in each school. So you have,
And that's what the $4,000 is. That's a direct quote from the Link, the company that we use.
so
Have you shopped it around? Cause that seems expensive for a register.
That's actually the cheaper of the options that they have, yes.
Is,
It's gotta be compatible with the link, so.
Right,
It
with the
does, yeah.
software.
so if I heard is the $4,000 is per,
school.
no, but it's per register, right?
No, it's per school. That would be 2 registers and 2 pin pads.
But we currently have 2 functioning at LMS. And ideal,
Not well, but they're functioning.
So what does this have to be compatible with? Because most registers are just a tablet and a cash drawer.
No, it's a link
Yeah, so it-
software for the
yes,
food service.
Links software,
Yeah, LINQ.
what does that do?
That's
So
the
it's-
student meal accounts.
Yeah, it's all our student funding, so when people pay like the Chromebook fee, it
So there's
goes
some
part of
kind of a
that.
credit system that runs through that, and that can't run on just any Android device? You have to have something special?
No, it's gotta
Right,
talk to
for
our student
reporting.
information system, yeah.
So if we were to, out of the 4 that are currently running right now, could we keep 2 or 3 for an extra year? I mean, could they get by for an extra year and replace them next year so we could defer some of that to
Every
next?
5 to 6 years, we need to replace these.
I agree, there should be a replacement cycle.
Yeah, so they're not getting hit all in the same
Right.
fiscal year.
I like where you're going. Would it be possible, seeing as how I hear that there's Chromebook options, could we say, do Campbell this year with new registers because you want the credit card machine?
I'm saying,
And then
yeah, keep-
do LMS next year and GMS the year after that and supplement with some Chromebooks to try to then at least have something where each year we're level. We're just,
The Chromebook situation is not ideal at all. The girls, because the screens are so small, they're having a hard time seeing. And again, we have had these machines for 6 years now, and they are starting to fail, and they are starting to, I don't know if we can actually I'm like praying that we can get through
so the question I guess I would ask you is if we were to purchase 4 of them, could we, and that way you're getting rid of the Chromebooks and you're replacing your 2 that are in the most dire needs, do you have 2 that could last another year is my question.
I doubt it, honestly. With the way these machines have been failing the last few years, I would not be surprised if we don't end the school year with having to supplement with more Chromebooks.
But if we had to, and say one of them or both of them, God forbid, turn south, you would have the opportunity to use the Chromebook, albeit not ideal. You could use the Chromebook to get through the rest of the year. So we could put 2 on a cycle next year if we had to.
If we had to, yes, but I don't advise it.
Have we looked at the opportunity to pre-order and just run a list of who gets it to reduce the usage of these? Like, if you have the menu out, I know that 45 students are gonna have this lunch on Tuesday. The students' names are this, and this.
My kids change their mind like what?
So I'll make a motion.
I like where you're thinking.
We got a motion.
Motion.
We love motions.
You guys can vote on it, but the motion would be, and I'm just gonna pick a line on it, but you
Just
could.
reduces the usage of it.
I just want, no.
Hold on. Let's go ahead with the motion.
So the motion would be reduce the food service budget by $4,000. You can take it out of the LMS, GMS, CHS, whatever one you want.
Yeah, let's just pick one.
Yep,
Can you just do
Ah,
GMS for
careful.
simplicity?
yeah.
Public enemy number 1, they're gonna tell you you're taking away porta potties.
There we go.
I think for just simplicity,
I'd say
let's just say
LMS.
GMS.
All right.
So
CHS would make
simplicity,
sense because they get the
simplicity will say
credit card
GMS, reduce $4,000 from GMS for the registers, in the thought that we can keep the 2, you guys can figure out where to defer them for next year.
All right, so I have a motion to reduce GMS food service operations. This is line 738 by $4,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Burke. Does any additional discussion? New discussion?
Are the Chromebooks compatible with this system? Why?
They are, but it's not ideal.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it the screen size? They have them in variety of sizes.
Screen size, it's the lack of a touch screen. It's clunky and slow when it has to go with the software. It's just not ideal.
I just don't understand because a Chromebook's just a browser, so if it works on a Chromebook, it should work on basically anything that exists.
And you can get touchscreen Chromebooks.
Yeah, you can get anything Chromebooks.
Any additional discussion? All right, roll call vote. Again, this is to reduce 738 at GMS by $4,000. Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Cutter?
No.
Mr. Brunel?
No.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. LaPlante?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Any additional motions for food service this evening? All right, seeing none, I'm gonna move us to building and grounds. BG is up by $66,459 over last year.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Do I have any motions this evening for buildings and grounds?
I do have one motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
Hold on, just trying to find the page. All right, page 4, line 623, utility bottled gas. Looking to reduce that particular line by $670.
A motion by Mr. Taylor to reduce 623 bottled gas by $670. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second by Ms. Douglas. Discussion.
Just based on taking a look at the market rates, I think 10% is a bit aggressive. 3% is probably more likely as far as an increase, and that's the difference between what was proposed for an uplift of 956 and the 670.
Okay. Any additional discussion?
You
sorry,
lock in the
second.
price for propane?
Second that
For bottled gas?
I did.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Do you lock in a price?
Yes, we have that locked in, through June, I think, of this year, so we do, when it gets closer, we'll renegotiate.
Is there opportunity to do multi-year?
Yes.
Any additional discussion? All right, again, this is to reduce 623 by $670. Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Cutter?
No.
Mr. Brunel?
No.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. LaPlante?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Burke?
No.
Motion passes 5-3-0. Any additional motions for buildings and grounds this evening?
I probably missed it, but what is driving the increase in repairs and maintenance, line 430, or?
What page?
430, page 5. I mean, we've been running, actually, last year was a decrease, but probably because it was a default.
Default, yeah.
Right. So,
It's actually back in line with,
it's all over the place. It was, our actuals in 24 were 30,000, just under 30. Our actuals in 25 were 77. What are we doing?
So some of the things in here are the stuff in that CIP plan that we developed.
Okay.
So we wanted to account and show those things, right? Like, so we've left them in there for people to say it, we developed that 20-year plan. The things here that had the little CIP label next to them in the individual lines.
So did they
Some
come
of
from
those
end of year
things.
funds and that transferred into the actuals?
No, we haven't done this work yet. So remember, we went through that big 20-year projection from the onsite insight reports, and they gave us recommendations to do these in upcoming years, right? So we decided we gotta start doing that work that they recommended to do, so we're starting to budget that. So the stuff that has the little CIP label next to it,
Okay.
such as the overhead doors, the hallway doors, those type of things are the things recommended in those reports to do.
But if I'm looking at the history here, and I could go back further probably when I sit down, we're looking at, under 40,000 for 23, under 30,000 for 24. We jumped to almost 80,000 in 25. So is that just, again, what drove that? Because that's gonna be what I'm using as so my question is the 30 to 40 more reasonable, or is 70 to 80 more reasonable? Right now I have an outlier, but I don't.
was there,
So we realigned some of the groupings for which accounts they came out of.
Okay.
And there was also, some of the items, like all the inspections for that one, we've actually moved to like the 2640 lines instead of the 2620. But then we also, included, I actually have a spreadsheet I'm gonna share with everyone, that has everything broken down, how we move things.
All right, so you moved all your inspections into this one, that's your bottom line there, okay.
is, if my math is correct, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Still not
that,
50,000.
well, $44,300 of this line item correlates back to those CIP items that you're referring to. Is
Not
that?
40,000.
that's
Not
true?
40,000, no.
No.
I was looking at
It's-
the 27,000, the general buildings and repair, the general building repairs and maintenance, so that has, restroom fixtures, it has the exterior doors, service doors, overhead,
Oh,
classroom.
yeah.
That's
And then it has
44,000.
the overhead door, then it has the hallways door, so if you add all those up,
Yeah.
that's 44,300.
So all that stuff is in that CIP plan.
Okay.
So some of that stuff is work we were gonna do, like yearly anyways, right? Like we do bathroom repairs yearly anyways. That's like not necessarily a new thing
It's
that we're
not
doing.
something, so,
Right.
can you, if you don't have it tonight, it's okay. What, of that 44, what of that is new that came out of the onsite insight?
Yeah, so of that, I think, yeah. So that's all in the onsite insight. The new I know exactly what you're asking. We'll break that to you. It's the doors that are in there, and then we can break out the specific prices for it.
Thank you.
So, but again, though, if our budget was 52 and we spent 77, was that the matter of moving end of year funds into that line?
It was not moving end
Was
of
it like,
year.
did something break at LMS that?
No, it was moving some of the items, like, we just tried to put things in the more appropriate, accounts. So they may have just been in another line. Like I said, I'll share a spreadsheet with
Okay.
you for next time that gives that breakdown so you can see. And there was also some costs that we had been paying every year, but we wanted to make sure it was actually in the budget. So we just wanted to make sure that it's more accurate when you're looking at this, exactly what the costs are.
Yeah, no, that would be appreciated, because right now, if I were to do a scatter plot, I got a nice little outlier, and I'm trying to understand why. Yep.
Any motions for buildings and grounds this evening?
I do have a question, going back to, bottled gas.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 7.
Okay.
So on 623, again, it's another 10% increase.
I do think
Yes.
the board cut that.
That one is,
They did.
Yeah, if you go to the next page, page
Yep,
8,
they reduced it by
they
5,000.
reduced 5,000.
alright.
So that one we could reduce gas, but can't get a vote on the buildings and grounds.
It's 'cause the other,
I guess my propane was different.
Any,
well, it's the same with oil, he's got a 10% increase.
I was
in oil.
looking at different thresholds, which is why.
No, it was for me. That's okay.
any motions, buildings and grounds this evening?
So, building and services, page 6, line 610. What's driving that increase? We went from spending 4,700, we've down budgeting request 7,500. It doesn't look like we added anything specific because there's 2 lines. So I'm just curious if there's something specific that resulted in a $3,500 increase, or like,
This is LMS,
whatever page 6 is.
yep, this is LMS 610 supplies.
Okay, I think that was probably the air filters, let me check.
Yeah, I mean, the air filters are 5,000.
I think that was an expense that we had not captured prior, but let me double check that. 2620.
Yeah, 3,500 is the filters for air handlers.
Well, filters for air handlers are actually 5 grand.
That's what, that's what the increase is?
It's got work on it. Some work, some don't.
Good luck on that.
Oh, that's GMS, I'm sorry. I was looking at GMS.
Maybe.
Does that work?
What's that?
While we're pulling that information, I want to do a clock check. It's 9:04. I do not foresee us getting through everything tonight. We've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with, you know, personnel obviously being the largest of those. I don't think any of us want to stay here till 10 o'clock or 10:30 to do that.
Oh,
So, I would propose that we wrap up buildings and grounds,
Perfect.
call it an evening, capture any outstanding questions that we have. Next week, we would come back and start with the business office, finish the remaining 6 that we have, and then we could go back, revisit any of the ones that we came through tonight once we get answers to those questions. Is everyone comfortable with that? Yes, yes, okay.
So, one question I would have, though, relative to the CIP. So are we going to just be, we're gonna be putting them into the proposed budget instead of doing like a highway block grant and say, we would like to request $400,000 a year to upgrade maintain our buildings?
Like as a warrant article?
Well, yeah, because this is a significant increase. Based on the warrant article way back when, increases of this type should be, nobody's gonna wanna go through and improve individual, but they should know how much we're adding to the budget as a result of this plan.
Well, I think when we're gonna do a significant spike because of the onsite and site report, do that versus a warrant article.
This is a significant spike. You have 45,000 here, 27,000 there. Shall we decide what are we going to
What's the threshold for
what are
that?
we going to determine to be significant? Because we're in 2 items we're approaching 100 grand.
Yep, and I'll use an example, like the roof at CHS, which we've been starting to
No,
put.
my number's lower than $1 million, so.
Well, when we say the roof, it's everything, right? Like you're gonna take the roof off, you're gonna replace the HVAC that's up there, any work that's gonna get done when you're taking off the roof, you're
So
gonna
my
do that.
threshold's a lot lower, though, is what I'm saying, though, because you've already, within 2 items, already added to the budget almost $100,000 for the CIP.
So this is something that like people were screaming about when I got here, not necessarily in a mad way, but like, can you map out all of these capital costs, right, for the building? So we spent a lot of time and energy last year developing this 20-year plan that outlined it all,
Right.
right? And then we have been transparent about that we're gonna start putting this stuff in the budget,
So I think I
right?
misunderstood the plan, because with the plan with the town, some of these are like, we're spending $250,000, whatever the number is, every year towards highway repair. I guess I had expected to see, taxpayers, we are asking you to spend an extra $400,000 this year to maintain our budget.
So,
Well, we're trying to say specifically what we're spending the money on.
So,
Like, these are
maybe-
labeled as, like, these
But-
are this set of hallway
Right, but
buildings.
when we do a little bit here and a little bit there, all of a sudden I've spent $1 million and I didn't realize
so
it.
let me try to wrap this up. So I think an ask would be to probably get to what Ms.
Some,
Douglas is
yeah.
asking for is, can we get just a breakdown of the stuff that's in the budget that ties back directly to CIP?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be flippant, but if you go to the plan, you will see it all, the detail that is there. It's public, it's on our websites. I don't know if it's in this budget folder, but if it's not, we will put it there, and you will see the specifics of what's there for the next 20 years.
But it directly,
It
that,
says
And
like the
identifies.
proposed.
So
and
here-
by year, like in this year,
By
it'll
year.
say that.
Yep, and it has a proposed funding mechanism for that item.
So here's the strategy that I would, if it were me, and it were my budget that I were putting forward. I would probably ask for that one individually and hope that my budget is more likely to pass, as well as get this other stuff. By increasing the budget significantly, where the majority of the voters aren't gonna understand why, you're running the risk of a bloodbath this March.
We're not increasing it significantly because of the CIP plan. And when we don't do this stuff and risk putting it as separate warrant articles, and if it gets voted down, you get into a situation that you're in with GMS right now, which is a building that hasn't been upkept yearly, year after year. And then you have arrived at a situation where, like, you're looking at millions and millions of dollars to solve at one time to solve your problem. We're trying to prevent that with the other two buildings here.
I don't,
There was a plan, we spiked that plan.
I
a long
don't
time
disagree
ago.
with your logic on there. I think what would be helpful is, and I think placing that in the budget folder would be helpful. And then next week, we can just, when we can recap that and say, hey, as a point of reference, the document's there. If you look here, it'll show you that in this proposed budget, there has been $100,000 added that directly whatever the number is, correlates back. Because I think that gets to your point, gets the number, gets you a sense of what the number is, which I think is the ask, and then that allows the voters to. It's in the budget. Yes, I hear you, but at least they know what that number is.
I also don't like the idea of in order to have these improvements, I have to pass a budget. What if I don't agree with you on other aspects of the budget?
So
Let's
we
just
need
take-
to
No,
just
it doesn't
upkeep
matter.
our buildings.
Well, let
every
me
year.
just
Well, I don't know, but-
That's like a
Go back to
natural
Let's go
thing.
back to a
Strategically.
board discussion, right? A board discussion was on the LMS doors specifically, and we had this discussion, right? And it was, hey, should we put the LMS doors as a warrant? Should we think about encumbrance? Should we think about another funding mechanism for that, right? The board had a long debate about this, and we really felt strongly collectively, regardless of individual opinions, but collectively, right, that we need to start including maintenance in the budget for the same reasons the superintendent just spoke about, right? So what is the budget committee's purview here? Like, if we're trying to do upkeep and maintenance and stay on top of some of this, how would you like us to fund this?
I think, again, you run the risk, you're in a default right now. You increase the budget even further when people have just gotten their tax bills and whether you're not on Facebook or not, there is a segment of this population that is hurting as a result. So now you're gonna put all your eggs in one basket, and if it bombs, you don't get your maintenance and you don't get your budget request increase.
I think both things
So
can
the
be.
strategy
both-
has to be, how do you get the most of what you need?
Both things can be true at the same time, because you're right, philosophically, these items should be in the budget, they should be planned, they should be directly tied back. Bless you. But then there's the risk, if the budget doesn't pass, then you don't get those items. I think it's a hard spot to be in, because I do agree with you, I think they should be in the budget. If they're tied to this plan, they should be in the budget, we should budget for them. But given where we are between the default and the financial impact in this town, it's a risk that they don't get funded. I agree with you on that.
And there's a risk certainly if we go to warrant, which we talked about, right, that they also don't get funded. So
You're
it's like-
damned if you do, damned
But
if you
you
don't.
could do your proposed budget
But
and not get.
if they get a default budget, they could still do the repairs if they can find the funding within the default.
Right,
So,
we
I
tried
think-
to account for all this in our budgeting. Our budget, I don't know after the reductions tonight, but the budget we walked into here tonight is only up $200,000. That's it.
I'm sure people whose tax bills just doubled are happy to hear that.
Yeah.
But the reality, no.
So that's us trying to account, that's a 0.73 percent
You
increase.
can't, so ultimately, it's gonna be, you guys have to decide how you wanna approach this. Again, I don't gamble for a reason, I don't like losing, so I like to hedge my bets, which is why I would not go with the current strategy.
Of a 0.7
You just said you
increase?
don't bet, but now you're betting.
I wouldn't, I'd take the safe play.
So we came in at a 0.74% increase. Through motions tonight, the budget committee has reduced $12,416. The budget now stands at 0.7%.
Is that point seven over?
12,415.
Over the
7.0
default.
over default,
Over a budget that was underspent by 1.4
So-
million.
which we've cut a lot of
Which we've
positions
cut
from.
positions from.
Okay.
No, I hear you, but when we're saying 0.7% increase.
From the
over a-
default budget, we already.
Right, over a budget
That
that was
factored in all those cuts.
significantly more than you needed, it's not really.
I feel
Okay.
very strongly about our
Accomplishment.
budget, and I feel like
Be the
we're
bad guy, you
pretty
want.
Guys, all right. Thank you for recapping the motions. We're gonna pause where we are right now. We will pick up next week.
So, since we're
Did you-
still on.
Did you have it? Yeah, go ahead.
I do, because, of course, Mr. Taylor, like, you know, got it going. Because I'm looking at all the utilities, and I know, like, a couple years ago, we talked about, like, electric. We went and negotiated a contract and, as far as the price, but I won't make the motion right now, but I'd like some more information before I do make a motion, but every one from water, oil, propane is all rated at a 10% increase. And I know personally, like, there's not a 10% increase out there.
No, I agree that I did
Except for
go
baby
through.
water.
And even that, it's,
Because you do use Penachuk, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the
Maybe.
only one that I would say
Maybe,
would be
yeah.
justified at a 10%.
And like, in fairness, right, so just for your awareness, the board also decreased GMS Electric and GMS Oil total by 14,000.
Yeah, but we still have a 600 and some odd thousand, whatever it is, or whatever the amount is.
And that's what I'm
hanging
looking
over our
at.
heads.
I'm looking at oil, water, electricity.
I'm just saying, there were some motions there to consider as you go through that.
Right.
There's also a document in the shared folder that I put in today that has a breakdown of the utilities, that has a 3-year average for everything. So,
Okay.
if anyone wants to read that as well.
My apologies. I should have asked for any final motions this evening on buildings and grounds.
Not correct.
All right. So I'm gonna pause
I do
this.
see lots of negatives that line up, so I appreciate that.
I'm gonna pause this on motions for the evening. Next week, we will pick up with business. We'll go to transportation, school board, SAU, HR, and then wrap with the big one that's personnel.
Sure.
We'll certainly have, once we go through those, we'll have the opportunity to come back and revisit any of the ones that we want to tonight based on questions that were asked and then answered. We'll look for those answers to be in the document that's shared. One other thing I want to point your attention to is in the document that I believe it was in the forward from Mr. Cutter, there was a file in there called FY27 budget changes. It's a good document to keep your eye on because it tracks all of the motions that the school board has made to thus far, and then I assume it doesn't, I know we haven't added the ones from this evening in there, but the budget committee changes will be added on there. You'll be able to see overall reductions that have been made between the school board and the budget committee as we go through the rest of this process. All right, with that, I'm going to assume any other school updates this evening, Mr. Cutter?
No other updates aside from what was shared in the email today.
Thank you. Member input, new business, school facilities.
Oh, there is.
One more form.
Oh, I just had, no, yeah, there's one more forum on the 15th, and I believe is gonna be discussing more about the actual options and.
And the pricing.
Cost is the big one.
Yes.
Because that's gonna be a fun discussion. So that's the main thing, and I don't believe we met, we haven't met since the last time we met. Unless-
No, I think we're
I
meeting
missed
next
it.
week.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was last week. See, I can be short and sweet.
Thank you. Brian, CIP,
No, no.
no updates there. Any other member input, new business this evening? Seeing none, public input. I'll reopen public input this evening. Any other public input this evening? Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You wanted to still plug in, Brian, did you?
Oh, no, I think it's fine. It's treated.
Plus, if you get home, it's dead, you don't have to do anything.
All right. Good evening again. Go ahead and if you want to restate your name and address, please.
Hi, Ronald Blinas, 15 Riverview Circle. Kind of going back to one of the comments I made to begin with, is I am confused greatly. The budget was underspent by $1.4 million, but yet we're over by 0.7%, some $200,000 or whatever the number is at the moment. My question is, where has the $1.4 million been accounted for? In theory, we should have started $1.4 million less than was authorized and built up from there. I can't see where that's been accounted for. Don't understand it. And I think, Carrie, you made some references to it tonight. I would like to fully understand what accounted for that 1.4 and why that hasn't been deducted out of this year's budget because it was underspent. I believe some of it was talked about as far as positions not filled, but I would like a full accounting of the 1.5 and why it's not deducted and how it fits in relationship to where the budget is now. It's not clear. The other thing I want to talk about is the CIP. I've been trying to follow that, and contrary to what was mentioned, in fact, I just going on to tonight, the only thing I can get to is in the public, unless I'm missing something, is one spreadsheet that summarizes the CIP for the next 6 years. There's some reference that the 20-year span is shown somewhere of what the school wants to do. I can't see that.
Is it on the town one?
There's a CIP portal.
Yeah.
There's a
That's
CIP
where I went.
website.
It's also on our district website.
And I'm on the public portal right now. All sorts of links.
Can we
The point being, I haven't found it, and it's not obvious to me where it is. I go to it, I go to the CIP portal, I come up with a CIP plan, and it comes up with one spreadsheet, and that's the spreadsheet that was talked about at the 11/18. I can't find that. So if somebody wants to send me a link to that that shows what superintendent talked about, that's all shown out over 20 years, I'll be happy to see that. I've been looking for it, can't find it. Second thing that's interesting is that he makes reference to the on-site insight report and using that to do the maintenance of all the buildings. Well, that's not entirely true. We're going to use that CIP, or that on-site insight, to schedule maintenance at LMS and CHS. But this also has complete 20-year plan for GMS. Why aren't we following that? If you look at it, over the 20 years, that on-site insight says there's $7 million approximately for LMS and about the same amount for GMS. Why aren't we following that instead of coming up with somewhere in the order of $32 million of renovations at GMS?
We know that that's, before we put that number out, like, I wanna make sure, is that a number, is that a real number? Like,
Yep.
Guess I'll have to go to Wednesday's meeting.
Because the total is around 28 million. It's 14, it's about 7 apiece, or over 7 for LMS and GMS, and it's around 13 for CHS. I've sent that all out to everybody here. I put all those spreadsheets together. And this is what frustrates me. So why aren't we following that for GMS? And I'll just stop there. I'll be interested to hear what happens next week. But please look at, as he said, go on to the website, look at the on-site insight reports. I beg you to go in and read them. It's very interesting. Go into the portal and find the matrix of needs that the FIC developed. There's about 80 items out of somewhere around 100. The first 80 come directly from the on-site insight report. They're all addressed in the on-site insight report. and get done over the first 3 years of their proposed expenditure, which totals around $3.5 million. And I can't get anybody to discuss this. That's the number I keep bringing up, everybody says I'm lying at. Go in and read it, prove me I'm wrong. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Oblinus. Any other public input this evening?
A public input, but I do have a
No.
question and a comment, if I may. So, Mr. Cutter, I guess, going back to the, the baseline of this start at the $1.4 million
Sure.
list. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. So that was your exiting fiscal year 2024 number.
Operating budget.
We are now in 2025, which that cake was already baked. What we are we're in 2026
Six.
budget now. We are discussing 2027.
7.
So to use a baseline of $1.4 million less based on a budget that ended 2 years ago isn't correct. It would be more appropriate, and I understand that the school board and the superintendent have a very difficult time because of the offset of when we do this process versus when your budget starts. I completely understand you've got that extra gap there. But I would love to hear that, if you are coming out of December, or even when we have deliberative, that, we are on track, that there is not going to be a major underspend, then the baseline that we started with for the discussions and motions we are making now would be accurate, and then I would applaud both the school board and the superintendent for, if we do come out just about break even, and it is only going to go up 0.7%, I think both organizations should be heavily applauded for that.
Yeah, I mean, so again, you're comparing what was an operating budget passed by the voters to now a default budget, right? And they're two different animals. They're two different budgets, as this committee knows, right? And to then just arbitrarily say, cut the default budget off the top by 1.4 million, well, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way.
Can I just clarify something about that? Like, one, we were here at a budget committee meeting and went over the $1.4 million. We had it.
And we've provided spreadsheets to
provided
Mr.
spreadsheets
Oblinus
for
with the
that.
detail line by line
Specifically
item.
to help people understand, that budget is from 2 years ago. It's the 25 budget.
And a different administration.
Different administration, right? We didn't create that budget, right? Just in personnel, the budget you see in front of you cuts at least 20 positions out of that budget that we had that spent.
Between last year and this year.
Teaching positions, professional positions, and paras. That's where that money is coming from. Special ed has seen major reduction. You just saw $400-something reduction in special ed. That's that money that's being saved from that $1.4 million. We've seen our other, we have contractual increases we have to do. Collective bargaining agreements that have contracts in them that we have to pay out. Health insurance, we have to pay out. I don't want to spend any more time talking about health insurance, but we have to pay it, and it has skyrocketed. That's where that money is going from. That's why, I just want to say that. We understand that that was too much money to leave over. That's why, since we have been here, all we have done is cut costs.
And unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to see a full year impact
Correct.
of the changes you made. And that's to my point of,
That's the year
if
that
you
we're in.
do
You're gonna see-
end FY 2026,
My hope is even next year will be even better.
Our
because we have a full
goal,
year under
right,
us
is to
develop.
land somewhere in the $400,000 to $500,000 underspend. That's a good year for the school district.
What happened to 200,000 that you?
Well, that's the
said?
200,000 that we return. Ideally, it's a little bit more than that, right?
well, maybe 200,000 was back when the budget was 20 million, not 27 million.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm willing to applaud, you know what, if you could keep it under 500,000,
It should not be 1.4 million. We all agree to that.
Right.
But I would also caution that we be careful in how we say we saved. Yes, it's great. For whatever reason, special ed has gone down 400,000. How much of that is related to decreased need versus more tightly budgeting?
A good chunk of it.
Okay.
And I think that's
Very good chunk
perfectly
of it.
fine to admit. Our staff is doing a wonderful job.
Okay.
We're seeing our services being met and the kids being met where we don't have, let's just get to it, we don't have as much out of district placement, right? We're not sending kids out where it was a couple of years ago, right?
Okay.
Now, maybe that's dumb luck, maybe that's just happens.
No,
to
but
be what
I
it
also,
is.
I
But I
was
wanna
really
believe
careful.
it's in our staff that they're doing good things in our schools, that's helping keep kids in
I
our
think it's a
schools.
little bit of both.
No, that's great, but what my concern was like, oh, we saved money, but you would have saved it anyway because we had fewer students needing the services. So versus we just decided we're gonna, you know, in the past, we've had times where transportation, rather than budgeting one child, one bus, we recognized we would be able to consolidate and save. Like, if we've changed our budgeting practices to result in tighter budgets, awesome. I actually my concern is we've returned more to, is it baseline budgeting as opposed to base budgeting? So then we can talk about the differences there. So, yes, it's awesome. My concern is we're getting a little there, cause I think we should start at zero, and if that meant that we were making major reductions, that's good.
And just to to use the zero marker, the default budget's there. You can go through our default budget, it is in the folder, it is line by line.
I don't
You
consider that a zero, though.
But
because
that's how we start, but that is a zero start.
That shouldn't be, like, it cost me $10 for pencils, I started at zero.
But
Not
the RSA's.
last number plus 10.
But, we don't have to go on forever. The
Right.
RSA's to develop defaults, say you start with zero and you go back to the previous year on the line. And we did it literally line by line this year. You can go through the default and you can see it. That is the build up from zero.
I literally started at zero, and I don't have to start at like what we spent last year. So that's what the philosophical.
But legally, we have to do that. That's the RSA around
get
default budgets.
So,
Sorry, I had
No, I'm
one,
saying proposed budget.
one
My
comment
proposed budget
too,
would actually start at
if
zero.
go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
all right, then I guess just my other comment is, I would just ask that the board, when it comes to public comment, whether it's via email or here at the meeting, is related to budget-related items. So like, for example, the email around teaching to the contract, that is a school board discussion. Deciding and arguing over how many hours a teacher should be teaching is not the purview of this board. Also, why is certain CIP items not in the GMS budget? Again, not part of this board.
Don't
That
agree
is
on
something to bring to the school board.
CIP number, if it has a dollar associated with it, it's absolutely within the purview.
But if they choose to not put it in there, that is not for us to discuss.
Absolutely disagree, because if I agree that it should be addressed, and I think it should be in the budget, why should I not talk about that?
And I'll actually say, like, on the class size stuff, like, while I may not philosophically agree with the numbers, I do think the cutting of the staff, I do think that it does, like, there are dollars attached with that. So, like, I hear what you're saying. I think we don't want redundancy in those conversations. We are gonna attach Mr. Oblinus's email, his letter to our minutes. I think I do disagree with you on that one, because I do think it does ultimately come back to dollars. I don't agree with the logic, but at the end of the day, I do think there are numbers tied to it at the end of the
And
day.
I would love to see that in that discussion or in that written, that there's a point. And that point is, therefore, I think that personnel is over by
Didn't he just
$50,000.
say that in his email?
No.
He said, he
was
discussed number of
just-
positions, which
No.
we
Yeah,
could
but
go
it didn't have,
average.
it didn't have dollars
So
associated.
I'll just add in that I agree with you, Mr. Taylor, as far as that's a school's business, not ours. It's what numbers they put in front of us, that's what our responsibility is.
Your responsibility is to provide a responsible budget to the taxpayers.
That's
If you-
correct. But what they
If
put in
their
it,
numbers-
what they put
Hold
in
on,
it,
hold
or
on,
what they
hold on,
omit
hold on.
from putting in the budget is not our purview, as you said, it's not.
Okay, we
You
have
know
a
what?
very
Then
different.
town should have put a lot of things in too, I think, into their budget, and they didn't.
Lots of cruisers.
Yeah, should have put them in.
Which you could have, but again, it comes down to the logic and
But
the
again,
gamble. What's gonna
that's-
pass and what's not.
That's not our responsibility.
I would
We don't tell the
suggest
town
you review
what to put in their budget.
responsibility
I
of the
think
budget
the way
number actually is.
I think the way I look at it is, if there's logic that says that if it helps, whether, again, I'm going to go back to the fact that I don't agree with the logic that gets me there, but if I did, and it ultimately got me to a place to help me inform a cut to personnel, then it's helping to inform a potential budget cut. That's the way I look at it, and that's my own perception
I
of it.
think you're talking two different things right now.
No, if it's about providing a responsible
No, but
budget,
right.
then it
No,
has
if
a
you
dollar.
feel there are dollars and salaries that need to be eliminated, then that's
Right.
That's something else.
Okay,
But if they didn't put a position in that they needed,
okay.
then it's not our responsibility to tell them, well, you should have put that position.
I
in.
hear what you're
I
saying.
can guarantee you, I'm not gonna say
No, no,
that.
no, no, I hear what you're saying. It's not our responsibility to tell them what the appropriate class
If
sizes
you
are.
think there are dollars to be cut out of personnel, then
Right.
have at it, make a motion.
I will.
But to say that they omitted something from the budget, and they should have put it in there, that's not our responsibility.
All right, anything,
You're welcome when you're up for reelection to make the case that developing a responsible budget isn't your responsibility.
It's
I
not
think
what I
he,
said.
no, that's not what he said. He didn't say
It's
that.
not what I said at all.
There are, in years past, right, putting my former budget committee hat on, right, in years past, if there were items in the budget that the budget committee felt strongly about that were not in the budget but were dollars related, this board had no problem making a motion to add, right? I mean, so it works both ways. You can reduce and add if they're items, as long as it's about the dollars.
But did we not add like to various like transportation contracts and some other things in the past?
mean,
Because
it-
the numbers didn't like,
I
or what if, what if there's an error in an assumption and we realize from past experience that the assumption may not be fully accurate based on what we know? Do we not have a responsibility to make sure that that is covered?
In fairness, to your point, because we haven't closed the town, I'll give you a relevant example of that. I'm entertaining adding dollars to the town budget because of the IT position.
Yep.
And yeah, is it in our purview to determine what the Board of Selectmen does with that position? No, it absolutely is not. But if I don't believe that there's enough dollars in the budget to support the
Absolutely.
direction that it's going,
one.
then those dollars need to be added.
But that's off base of what Mr. Taylor
look
was
at-
saying. He's talking about repairs. Carrie's whole thing is, and Mr. Blinis like touched on it, that there's not millions of dollars in there for GMS repairs. That's a little bit different than saying, listen, I think you shorthanded yourself a little bit of money on this position.
I don't recall saying I said I wanted to know how much is being allocated towards CIP, but I didn't get into the weeds of individual ones yet.
Okay. Any other points that haven't been hashed out already?
Oh, plenty.
What was that?
Oh, plenty. For the next time.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Motion by Ms. Douglas,
Second.
second by Mr. Cutter. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. Motion carries 8-0-0. Good night, everyone.